is up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Day 2 of Dreamsnap reviews for the Small Wonder Dreamsnap Challenge. We have a few first-time reviews that we did not get to yesterday that were submitted after 3:30. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 of these first-time reviews. And then we have several re-reviews from Dreamsnaps that we did take a look at that made some changes, and we're going to compare the old snaps with the new snaps. Now, we do have a lot of these. Looks like maybe 25 or 30 of them. We had a lot of reviews yesterday, though. I think we had like close to 60. I ended up, my stream time is supposed to be 3 hours, but I think we went for almost 5 hours yesterday with all the reviews. But I love it. I'm glad so many people, appreciate my input on Dreamsnaps, and so many people participate in these weekly review streams. They're always a big day. Always a big day. All right. So before we get started with the review process, there's something I always like to do, which is revisit the theme so we can kind of touch on what we'll be discussing. Now, this week's challenge is called Small Wonder. It says play with the scale and enter a miniature world, create oversized worlds, and dress in a whimsical outfit to complete your vision. So we'll be looking for the avatar in a whimsical outfit, and we'll be looking for a world that can manage to pull off that convincing illusion that the world itself is oversized and the avatar is small within this world, miniature, so to say. There's a lot of interesting ways to approach this challenge. I've seen a lot of fun, different interpretations of the theme. A lot of fun, different ways where it works. There's some very common and safe plays, like Pixie Acres. And then there's some outside-of-the-box plays I've seen people do that have been very impressive as well. Slev Show, hello, my friend. Slev says, happy update, Eve. Thank you. Same to you, brother. Same to you. Enjoy the update tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Oh, and if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, real quick update. Since Slev reminded me tomorrow is update day, I go live much earlier on update day. So the update releases for me 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the UK, that's going to be, 5 hours roughly difference there. So let's see, right now it's 4 p.m. for me. So whatever time it is for you, that would be 7 hours before the time it is right now. That's when I'll be live tomorrow. 7 hours before the time it is at this moment, wherever you may be. So, yeah, we go live the moment the update releases on update day. And this will be my first ever update day live stream on both YouTube and Twitch. We've been going live with the updates the moment they release on Twitch for a long time. But as of a couple of weeks ago, we started regularly broadcasting over here on YouTube. So this will be our first update day over here on YouTube. Exciting. All right. Sunshine said I had jury duty last week and got released on the first day. I hope that's what happens for me. I do not want to deal with jury duty on top of everything else I have going on. Ash said, I'll go to jury duty for you and say I'm you. Yeah, that'll go swell. I think we can do that, Just put some glasses on you, give you a little haircut, dress you in some senpai merch or something, send you down there. You'll be able to cover. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first up review here. I'm going to move this over here. We're going to do everyone that did not get a review yesterday is priority first. Then we'll do re-reviews. So we have Alice, Denny, Breezy, Caroline Rose, Bunny, Vanessa, Duchess, Sunshine, and Sweet Lady Sue. So Alice, you're up first. We got one here. Looks like you got 2 for me to look at. Major difference seems to be the outfit. Okay. And the fireflies are a bit different in both images. Well, I like that you caught the giant butterfly in the back. The bee is a great companion to use for this one. I like the cattails being so close because they look very large here as foreground items. The grass looks very tall that you have here in the foreground. Now, as far as the boots, I don't think I would use 2 of them right here because it feels a little repetitive. If you can use 1 boot and then one of another item, I think that would be, you know, because we don't have a whole lot to see in your scene. You're pretty close to the cliff wall. So I would try to diversify your decor just a little bit. Maybe having something else here other than this boot. As far as what you could use, there are some fun craftable items. And I don't know if you picked up this from the premium shop, but the Tinker Table, which is like a little harmonica or something made into a table. There's the spool seats that could be good because, you know, for a spool of thread, this is very large. There's these mushroom tables, potentially, if you did the Garden of Whimsy STARPATH. Or, you know, if you did the Garden of Whimsy STARPATH, things like, you know, this flower. Or you can even do, you know, something like this little hanging leaf chair. There are some fun items you can utilize, but I would be careful not to, you know, when you have a small space like this, where you're not going to be able to add a lot of decor, making sure you diversify the items you are using is going to make your Dreamsnap a little stronger. Now, the other thing I want to touch on here is your lighting. We talked about this a lot yesterday, and I do have a new Dreamsnap tutorial that I'm working on. That's going to be 5 ways to level up your Dreamsnap. And one of the big things a lot of people struggled with this week is lighting. Lighting has been tough because a lot of people, instead of doing it on a floating island, have gone to the Pixie Acres. And when you're in a DLC region, it can be a lot trickier to get the sun to act as a spotlight for your scene. Now, I love the reflective light off the water here. Like, that looks really pretty. But unfortunately, the sun is in your backdrop, so the sun is lighting up the back of your avatar. It's lighting up, you know, the back of this fountain. We're not getting any light into the scene, which is going to reduce how vivid and colorful your photo is. Unfortunately, there's not much you're going to be able to do about that with where you are. You could cycle through time of day and try to find a time of day where the sun does cast in this environment. But again, it's a lot trickier when you are in a DLC region. Let me see from one of yesterday's. So, for example, a photo like this. The sun is behind the camera. And you can see the shadow from this rock going back this way. And that's why the colors are so lush and vivid here. The sunlight is actually hitting these items. And when it comes to, you know, maintaining 4K or getting into 4K, making sure your photo is well lit is a huge part of that. It makes a tremendous difference when you use the sunlight as if it were a spotlight for your camera. Now, unfortunately, with where you are, it might be hard to rework that, especially with it being the day before this challenge ends. This is more something I want you to try to consider for future challenges. You still have a beautiful photo here, and this still could potentially get 4K depending on what it pops up against. You know, you don't really have control over what kind of voters you get or what kind of photos you're matched up with. So this is on theme. I think you made a pretty look here. I like the bee. I like the big butterfly. I like the rainbow. I like the sunlight kind of glimmering off the water here. So there are some fun features to this photo. Ultimately, how it does will come down to what it's up against and what kind of voters you get. But the caveat there is it may struggle against photos that have great lighting. You know, photos where everything is well lit and very easy to see. Because when 2 photos pop up in the voting phase, like when you have, you know, 2 photos up on your screen, and a lot of people vote on small screens. You know, people are on Switch, some people are on Apple Arcade, some people are on, you know, Steam Deck, whatever it may be. But when 2 photos are matched up against each other, if one is more vivid and colorful and pops more, it's going to draw the eye faster. And a lot of people, when voting, they make their decisions rather quick. So capturing the attention of the voter is a huge thing you want to consider when building your snap. So yeah, going back to your snap here, I think you've done a good job with the theme. And you might be able to get better lighting here if you cycle through your time of day. You might be able to get the sun behind the camera. If you can, that's great. I would go with that instead. with everything else set up the way it is. But if not, don't worry about it too much this week. Just try to keep that in mind for future challenges. Now, you don't always have to have the sun behind the camera. You could capture beautiful sunsets. Those are going to be a bit trickier, though, because you're going to need to manage your sliders to make sure your photo is still visually appealing. You know, if you have the sun in the back, it could be great to have that nice, like, you know, purple and golden hue in the sky. But the sun will be hitting the back of everything if you do capture the sunset itself, which means you're going to need to play with things like character lighting. You're going to need to play with things like highlight and saturation to make sure you can still match up against those photos that have the sun pouring light into the scene. All right. And between your two, well, this one does, you have, you know, the sun still, we can still see the shadow of the boot going this way. I like the butterfly wings extended more on this one, but this one does have a bit better lighting. There's more light hitting your wood panels, which makes this photo pop a bit better. As far as the outfits go, I think they're going to perform about the same, so I wouldn't worry too much about which of these two outfits you pick. I would be more concerned with the lighting. I will say for this outfit, I do love this little gold flask on your side, paired with the nice, well-lit wood panels here. Denny is next. All right, Denny says, "Hi, Senpai. I really struggled with this theme. I don't have the DLCs and just unlocked Alice, so I don't have many items to use. So I tried to make my character look really small with the items I have, but now I don't know if I might even be too small." Well, you do want to appear small, but that doesn't mean you want to kind of bury your avatar. Part of this challenge, Denny, is to present your avatar in a certain look. So, the challenge here...
Senpai. Notice
Hey, thank you, my friend, thank you. Let's go, Alice, that is so sweet of you. Thank you so much for the 500 bits. Much appreciated. Today is goal number 142. We've had our last 141 consecutive stream goals, which is a huge feat. So thank you again, you guys, for all the love and support you show this channel. It means the world to me. And thank you for the contribution. That will definitely be going towards my taxes that I'm paying this week. So thank you, thank you. All right. The challenge states, create oversized worlds and dress in a whimsical outfit. And if you look at the demonstration photos, you'll see every character here is displaying their outfit. Like, they're all, you know, very easy to see and make out within these demonstration photos because the look this week is also important. So, it's good to appear small, but I would be careful not to bury your avatar. And the look you've chosen here feels a bit more elegant than it does whimsical. Like, you have a yellow skirt, you have a nice green top, and then you have a sun and moon crown. The wings, I think, could work, but I would consider, you know, an outfit that feels a little bit more whimsical, and I would be careful not to cover it. Now, if you're a new player, and you're limited on items, that can definitely make challenges like this a little bit more difficult, for sure. When you don't have access to all the DLC stuff, especially Wish Blossom Ranch, this particular challenge, if you have Wish Blossom Ranch, I think, you know, one of the safest directions you can go is with the Pixie Acre style build. Now, I did see that you had those large flowers from the landscaping menu. You had the... because you had these in your build. These flowers here and these flowers here. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't those come with Storybook Veil? So does that mean you have Storybook Veil by chance? Let me go back to your photo here. Because if you have these flowers, you might have the giant mushrooms as well, which are good items to use. And, you know, when it comes to making sure your avatar appears small, Bunny, I can open it and zoom in, but as far as the size that it appears, let me see. Yeah, no, this is the biggest it can get unless I save it and zoom in. So the size of the photo depends on the size of the files you guys upload to Discord. That's why some photos appear much bigger and some photos appear smaller. So, I mean, what I could do is save it and then zoom in on it. But this is as big as it'll get in the browser because that's just the size of the file. Whereas other photos, people send me the full size. So when somebody sends me a photo that's half size, that's just how it comes in. It all depends on how it's submitted. But I could do this. It's just going to get kind of pixelated. So yeah, as far as what you're doing with the avatar here, making the avatar appear small doesn't mean you have to kind of zoom out from them. There's plenty of submissions where the camera is close to the avatar, but they've just put large items around them. So if you're going to be close to the avatar and show the avatar well, you just want to make sure you have some large items nearby. And then by using companions that are larger than they should be, like the bees, for example, you know, bees are usually teeny tiny, but, you know, this bee is rather large. Now, I know you don't have Wish Blossom Ranch, so you're probably not going to, or sorry, yeah, Wish Blossom, so you're probably not going to have the bees. But I would reconsider, like, the angle and the outfit and how well we can see the avatar. And also, like I mentioned, you do have the giant flowers and some of the large mushrooms. And if that's the case, if you go into your trees, you might have... Are they in trees? Or are they in underbrush? Surprisingly, I think they're in underbrush. Wait, where are they? Maybe they are in trees. Here we go. If I were you, Denny, I would consider using some of these large mushrooms. It looks like you pulled most of the landscaping stuff you're using out of underbrush. And you might think, you know, under the trees tab, it's just trees, but there's actually all kinds of good stuff in here. So since you have those flowers from Storybook Vale, I would imagine you might have these mushrooms as well. And if you're limited on items, these are going to be really, really good to use. So I would definitely consider these in your snap. And you can always combine them with the flowers. But yeah, these flowers came with those mushrooms, so you should have them. They're both from the Ever After. And I would be careful not to bury the avatar and do your best to dress up in a whimsical look. So whimsical, again, is fanciful and amusing. So there are some interesting items you can use for this. But with the angle the way it is here, kind of pointing down, and with the way the avatar is hidden, I think that could potentially hurt the performance of this snap. A lot of the items you're using are good, like the large flowers here and these tall, skinny mushrooms. But yeah, it looks like you pulled all your resources from underbrush. So don't forget to go into trees and look for things like those giant mushrooms, because they're going to be really strong this week, especially if you're limited on the kinds of items you can use. In fact, we got our very next photo features the large mushrooms. Breezy said, I've gotten a couple of criticisms on this, like you're not small and such. I've seen too many people doing a fairy theme, and I wanted to do something different, so I wanted to get your input on it. And it looks like you have another variation of this as well. Oh, yeah, the giant Alice is really fun if you can use her. That's really fun. So, as far as people saying you're not small here, you can be close to your avatar this week. But if you are going to be close to your avatar, I would be careful using regular size items, like the fairy mushroom circle, for example. These mushrooms feel normal in size. So, you know, if we're playing with the size and scale of the world, the teapot is great. The mushrooms in the back are great. but the illusion gets a little bit broken in the front because you have these tiny normal size mushrooms and these normal size blue hedges. And when it comes to really selling the illusion that everything is larger than life, you kind of want to put, you know, items around you that are also large. Like the backdrop is great, and you definitely do feel small compared to the backdrop, but you feel normal compared to the foreground, if that makes sense, except for the giant gooseberries here on the side. That's something we talked about a lot yesterday, because I've seen several really good close-up shots of the avatar. There's plenty of them out there. But if you are going to be close to the avatar, making sure that you surround yourself with items that are far larger than they should be in respect to you. Like, that's why this giant snail is so useful. And these giant gooseberries. Like, everything around me is bigger than it should be. The little, like, spool, the silk spool or thread spool here. And then we have, like, you know, these fairy crafted items. They're made to look like they were made out of twigs. But, you know, the giant snail right here on the right, the giant butterflies in the background. But even the foreground elements of this photo are very large compared to the avatar. So the reason people may have been critiquing your original submission, you got perfect stuff in the backdrop. But the reason this may have been getting critiques from some people is because here in the foreground, you have elements that, you know, make you appear normal in size, and that kind of breaks the illusion a little bit. And a good example of the fact that you don't have to be far away from the avatar to pull off small. If I find LOTRs, yeah, here's one with the avatar close up, and I love this one. This is a picnic basket illusion here. So they're using these rugs to make little picnic plates, and they've got a giant cupcake. They're holding a giant strawberry motif. You know, the teacups are just... And this is right up on the avatar. They're right up on the avatar. But everyone who saw this yesterday, out of like the 100+ people in the stream, everyone loved this. Nobody was like, oh, you're too big. Like, not a single person said that. And I think the reason why is because everything we see is larger than it should be in respect to the avatar. So you don't have to be far away from the avatar this week if you set up your photo to where the scale is consistent throughout the entire scene. So just keep that in mind, you guys. Keep that in mind. I think there's there's been a lot of confusion about that. And I've seen several really fantastic close shots of the avatar. But I've seen people pushing back on some of them because the illusion is not as strong as others. Now, with your new ones, I really like these. These are super fun. Between the two, definitely go with the sunset here. This is beautiful. I mean, this one's fun too, but the rich colors and the vibrancy and the saturation of this is great. Alice being absolutely massive behind you is a very good wow factor, a very fun touch if you're going to go with the Alice in Wonderland style build. I also love that you didn't just use the carpets here. You also used the Mothras to add more color. One thing I saw some people doing when they were going with the Alice in Wonderland style build is they just kind of covered everything with these cards, or they used like the candy path, and it just added so much white to the base of the shot that it kind of bled a lot of color out. But if you use the cards like sparingly, like you are, and then you mix in some other fun colors, like by using the Mothras, it works really well. The giant mushrooms in the back work. Everything around you is larger than life. You know, we have this giant sprig with the water drop behind you. Even Alice is so much bigger than you here. The giant dice blocks, the giant teacups. So this works really well. I think it will be stronger than the original submission, just because the scaling here. Backdrop is great, but there's a lot of normal-sized things in the foreground, especially the fairy mushroom circle. So looking at this one, everything's pretty consistent. You know, the cards are huge, the dice blocks are huge, the teacups, and even Alice, which I think is going to have a lot of weight on this Dreamsnap. Also, your pose is really fun. You know, it's like you're kind of shocked with your hand over your mouth here. It tells a story. Anytime you can communicate emotion or some element of storytelling with your pose, it's always going to lead to better results within Dreamsnaps. But yeah, between the two, I would definitely go with this one. I think the sunset lighting is beautiful, and I think overall this is a strong submission. Alice really does a lot for this one here. If you wanted to do anything else with this, you could maybe put some kind of little item down here where we have a little bit of space on the bottom left, because over here on the bottom right, you have the dice block, and the dice block here is a bit further back. But something right here, I mean, it could be gooseberries, like you could have some little gooseberries popping up here that would add a little bit of extra color to the base, and it will give you another foreground item that's larger than it should be. So that could be a fun addition, but aside from that, I think this is a strong snap. Caroline. So you have two for me. There's this one here. Beautiful colors, good lighting. And then we have an updated version. Oh, I like the way you changed the hair here. Yeah, going from the blonde hair to the purple with the, I like the silhouette around the avatar as well. Very fun. We got the bee grape band to use this week. I love that the sunflowers here are going past the frame. It shows just how large they are. Like, we can't even see over them, which is fun. You do have some trees in the back that are normal size, but luckily we can't see too much of them, so I don't think they're taking away. Also, the purple, you know, is quite nice with the wings that you have here. Hey, thank you. Was that Beyblade? I think it was. I was recommending your video to someone and called you my snap sensei. Dang, high praise coming from you, Beyblade, because you make some amazing snaps. Well, I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate that. Hopefully, they'll find the content and they'll find it useful. Well, thank you for sharing the good word of senpai. Now, with this, backdrop is fantastic. The big snail, I think, is a good selling point. Though in the foreground here, we do have some normal-sized plants and flowers. Luckily, since you're right next to the big snail, like most of this photo, everything's larger than life. The foreground elements are still, you know, our standard size, but they're very minor. So if you want to keep these in, I think you can. I don't think it's gonna, you know, come back and haunt you or anything. You have so many large items spread throughout this photo, and it's very well filled. You know, the fact that we don't see too much of the sky, it makes you feel very small in the space. And the wings are beautiful. The wings are beautiful paired with the dress here. It's a fun, you know, kind of magical look. I'd say it qualifies as whimsical here. And yeah, I love the bee with the snail. Snail's going to be very popular this week. The teacup to your left is awesome because you're matching that in color as well. As far as if you did want to switch up the foreground elements, you know, you could potentially do something like blueberries or the gooseberries. They could be fun. The gooseberries have a lot of yellow and orange, and you have a lot of yellow in your wings here. Even if you kept some of the foreground elements, at least the poppies, they do look rather large. So yeah, I don't think you absolutely have to swap out the foreground if you want to keep it. I think the rest of the photo is strong enough with a lot of oversized items. And I think the fact that your outfit is rather unique for this challenge, I think is going to lead to you standing out. And the silhouette around the avatar makes them very noticeable. So they have a good stage presence here. Overall, very beautiful snap. I think this will be quite strong. Well done, well done. Sunshone, thank you for the 100 bits as well, my friend. Much appreciated, much appreciated. We got Bunny next. So we have two options here. So with your first one, with the Tinkerbell pose, I would be very careful with this. If you're going to use Tinkerbell, I've seen people do a really good job with this. Yesterday, we had an amazing submission come in where the player pushed Tinkerbell way up to the front, and they pulled their avatar back, and they basically did a forced perspective, so Tinkerbell looked like she was the same size as the avatar, or at least very close. If the idea is that you've been shrunk down...
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
Dang, thank you, guys. Then having Tinkerbell be the same size kind of takes away from that illusion. Sunshine with a big 500, and we got a hype train coming in. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much. 1,400 bits on the board. Much appreciated, much appreciated. So, you have another one without Tinkerbell here. But yeah, you can still use Tinkerbell like this if you want to. I just think the alternate way of using Tinkerbell, where you push Tinkerbell closer to the frame so she's bigger and you step back a little bit, is more impactful because it really looks like you've been shrunk down to her size. And the snap I saw yesterday where somebody did that successfully, it was the best way of using Tinkerbell for this challenge that I've seen so far. So yeah, if you're going to use Tinkerbell, I would definitely try forced perspective with her. Now, your second photo I think is a lot stronger. This one, we don't get a lot of vivid color. There's a ton of green. And it looks like we don't have light really hitting the avatar. It looks like maybe around midday. But we don't have much light hitting this house here. And then we don't have too much color. It's a heavy abundance of green. In your new one, we have really good lighting coming in. It's still behind your avatar. We can see your shadow here. But you've got, you know, the saturation and color looking pretty good here. The snail looks good. You have a lot of larger-than-life items around you. The giant sunflowers, the big beehive, I think, is good. And the gooseberries right here in the foreground, they do make you appear a bit smaller. Now, the pose you're using, it looks like you swapped to a tool pose and, you know, before the tool appeared, maybe. But, you know, it kind of looks like you're just going like this. So, it doesn't really communicate much. Like this particular pose. I think if you were to do something different, you can get a more valuable pose out of this. Even just using the B pose or using a different pose where you hide the companion. But with the hand kind of extended like this, you know, it could be like you're going to shake hands, but, you know, then it's way up here. And also you could, I mean, it could be, it's just hard to interpret what this means, like what the pose means here. Whereas with other dream snaps, you know, like if you pose with the bee, she's looking at the bee, she's got her hands open, kind of like, you know, just taking in the beauty of nature. And she has a smile on her face. This pose, this is very clever. She's covering her mouth kind of in shock, surprised that she's been shrunk down. It communicates something. Whereas the pose where you just have your hand up, it's not... I don't think it's the best option for you here. I think there's something you could do that would be more fun than this, and I would experiment with the pose for sure. The environment is good. Again, it is going to be better if you can get light going into your photo. Unfortunately, the sun is like up in the sky behind you. Again, we can trace your shadow. It's going towards us. Whereas optimal lighting, you're going to have the sun hit the avatar. That's what's happening here. So we have sunlight hitting the snail, we have sunlight hitting the avatar, sunlight hitting the bee, sunlight hitting the flowers. That's why the colors are so vivid in this snap. And I think this week I've seen more people struggle with lighting than I have in the past several months of Dreamsnap challenges. And I think the reason why is because a lot of people have gone to Pixie Acres. And it's not like being on a floating island where you
Notice
can
me, senpai.
build your
Notice
snap
me.
right where you want it. Yo, Rope with the 145, Takai with the 500. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Much appreciated. Shaylena said, good evening, all. Watching Senpai while playing Pokopia. Nice. Enjoy Pokopia, my friend. But the lighting is tricky in this environment because if you go to sunset, it starts going behind the mountains. It's a lot harder to see. And then there's not a lot of places where you're going to get that direct sunlight into your scene. So really, you don't even want to go to this biome unless you're going to make the most out of what's in this biome. And in this case, it would be the butterflies. But in this shot, we can barely see them. You know, they're so far away that they're rather blurry. They're kind of covered by fog. And in this one, you know, we can see them back here, but it's really tiny. So I think you might have gotten better value out of your photo in this case if you would have just gone to a floating island. Because the butterfly plays such a minor role here. Now, if you are going to go to Pixie Acres and you're going to use the butterflies, you want to really take advantage of them. You know, and also, if you look at the lighting here, my sun is to the left, but still behind the camera enough to where the light is hitting the snail, these flowers, the butterfly. We're still getting good light into the scene. And the butterfly plays a much bigger role here. Now, if we set our light bloom down so the butterfly doesn't glow as much, and then we boost saturation, we can have that butterfly really standing out, really playing a vital role. Sorry for the B there, hang on. In this dream snap. So, in the sense of using this biome, if you're not going to highlight the butterflies well, then you should probably go to a floating island, because it's going to make lighting so much easier. It's going to make your build a lot more simple, because you'll have more control over where everything is. You'll be able to set up everything exactly as you want it. Now, if you're going to use the butterfly, you're going to be forced to setting up your scene around the butterfly, which means you're going to be more limited on exactly where you build, which makes you more limited on where the sun is going to be. So, going back to your dream snap here, since you are in Pixie Acres, I would definitely recommend trying to have the butterflies play a bigger role. That said, I know it's Tuesday. It's the day before, you know, this submission comes to a close. If you don't have any more time to work on these, the second is definitely the better photo, and I would just roll with this one. It has a chance for 4K. You got some good items here. It does deliver on the Small Wonder theme. So you could go with this. But if you do have time for any kind of rework, I would highly recommend, you know, really taking advantage of these elements within this zone. Otherwise, it would be a good idea just to visit a floating island and make your build there if you're not going to make heavy use of the butterflies within the zone. All right, moving on. Just make sure if you do rework it to use the butterflies, keep the sun's position in mind. Vanessa is next. All right. Let's see. The pencil is fun, but if you were facing the camera and we could see it, I think it would be more valuable here. I mean, I know you're kind of showing us the backpack and stuff, but with all the green, you have all this green at the base, and we have a lot of green here in the middle. With us seeing the little leaf camper bag and the leaf hat, and without seeing the front of your avatar, you kind of just blend into the setting. And since we don't see the expressiveness of your avatar or her face or her makeup, I think it's going to be a little bit less impactful than other Dream Snaps.
Senpai. Notice me.
Dang, we got another bit dono coming in. Bunny, thank you, my friend. Thank you. That darn bunny with the big 500 bits as well. Wow, thank you so much, you guys. You're dropping all the love. We are now officially over halfway on the goal, and we're only a couple of snaps in. Thank you, y'all. Now, the lighting for this, you know, again, I can see the shadow behind you. So you don't have light hitting the front of your scene. But you still have, you know, at least the ground here is well lit. You don't have a lot of things casting shadows. We can see the color of the grass really well. It would be nice if we had that same sunlight hitting some of these elements, but unfortunately it's hitting the back of them. Again, a lot of people have had a hard time with lighting this week if they went to Pixie Acres. And it looks like you did go to Pixie Acres. And again, you could have done the same build. You could have done the same thing you're doing here on a floating island. And you could have had better lighting from doing that. The only reason you'd want to come here is for the butterflies. And again, they're playing a pretty small role. I do like this one up here, though. The blue one is rather noticeable. But, you know, I think it would have been nice to have them play a bigger role in the snap. Because again, if you're going to go to a specific biome where you're not going to have as much control over the environment, with the sole purpose of doing so to use some kind of feature of the map, you want to make sure it's worth it. You want to make sure you make the most of that biome. And one of the best ways to make the most of Pixie Acres is to make sure that these are very well highlighted in your photo. Make sure they play a very big role. Again, the blue one looks good up here on the side. What I recommend for you here, Vanessa, is I would definitely face the camera. There are so many good Dream Snaps this week where people are communicating a lot with their avatars and being able to see the way they've done their makeup, the way they've done their hair, seeing their expression, the way people are storytelling. You can get a good rank facing away. I'm actually facing away from the camera in one of my rank 2 submissions, but there's an element of storytelling in that Dreamsnap. So I got rank 2 for this one facing away, but I'm facing Donald and I'm actively waving to him, and so is the monkey. So it's not just me facing away with like an item over my shoulder. There's an element of storytelling as to why I'm facing away. You know, we're on a hiking path, little capybaras walking by. I got a monkey on my shoulder. And the whole reason I faced away is because this was a hiking challenge, and the best hiking item we had was this backpack, and I really wanted to showcase that. So positioning a villager here and waving at them was a way to face away from the camera and do a bit of storytelling. But in a vast majority of my Dreamsnaps, I'm not facing away. There are some, like in Serene Village Vibes, I'm facing away here. But aside from that, like almost all my snaps, you know, I'm showing the expressive nature of the avatar and playing into that with not just me facing towards the camera, but the other characters as well. Because voters do tend to really like, you know, that relatability. When you can see the avatar enjoying themselves, when you can see that they're happy, that they're taking in the beauty of this world, or that they're very satisfied with themselves, it gives relatability, where people can look at it and they can feel happy. You know, it's like when you see somebody smile, like when you see a friend smile or a loved one smile, does it not make you smile? Does it not make you feel that same, you know, kind of happiness? And it's the same thing with photos. When you look at photos where there's something beautiful going on, you know, maybe somebody's being bashful, maybe somebody's very pleased, you get, you know, a bit more value out of that with the voter because it adds an element of relatability. So it's okay to face away, I think, with certain ideas. But I think in this case, you would benefit more by facing towards the camera and choosing a pose that adds some fun relatability and some kind of expressiveness to the photo. Now, all that said, this could very well still get 4K. Ultimately, it depends on what you pop up against. You got really fun colors. I love the color diversity here. And you got good lighting coming down on to the scene. But again, when you go to a DLC region or anywhere that's not a floating island, you know, utilizing the sun is going to be a good bit trickier. And with as much fun color as we have here, you did do a good job with your settings. You know, it's clear to me that you've tweaked the color of this photo since the sun was not hitting the photo. You've definitely adjusted things to where we still have pretty good color in the photo, so well done there. I've seen a lot of shots where the sunlight wasn't coming in that had nowhere near this level of vibrancy. So it's still a very solid snap as it is right now. But you can never beat that good natural light coming into the scene. So when you go to these different DLC regions or different biomes, think very carefully when you choose your location, like where you're going to build out your snap. And try to always pick a place where you're going to get some light casting into the front of the scene. Hey, we got a raid coming in. Hello, hello. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you. All right, so that was Vanessa. We got Duchess next. Number 1 and number 2. I had very limited time, and I'm wondering if I should scrap it and start over tonight. I'm submitting 2 options with 1 at sunset. Not sure I'm happy with either, but here we are. Okay, well, let's take a look at them. So first one, this is the daytime, and this is the sunset. Okay. So the sun is behind the camera, but it is to the left. So if you're going to use sunset, I would take Alice, and I would turn her a little to the left so the sun hits the front of her. Now, in doing that, all you got to do is push them where you want them and then talk to them. They'll always face to where you talk to them. So if you position yourself between Alice and the sun, and then you talk to Alice, she'll face the sun, and we can actually light her up a bit. Because as you can see here, we have light hitting the left side of her, but her face is very dark here. Perfect light on the right-hand side, though. You know, the snail has great lighting. The gooseberries have great lighting. The butterfly is looking really good here. One thing I would recommend changing is what you've done with the left-hand side of the shot. My camera's kind of blocking it here, so let's just take a close look on the side. This tree is normal size. I would place just the mushrooms. I would not do the big tree here. You know, you want everything you use to be larger than life if possible. So if you can use this mushroom here, and then you can use the giant sunflowers or other Pixie Acres items to fill in this spot up here. You're probably doing this to block those little light beams, but you can use a giant mushroom. You can even bring the giant mushroom in closer so it covers more here. But I would definitely recommend adjusting the left-hand side. I don't think you need to scrap this. I think this could be good. You can get closer than this, though. Because, again, your foreground is made up of things that are absolutely huge. Like the giant gooseberries, the giant blueberries. Even if you got right up on them, you're still going to feel small. That's something we've discussed a lot. There's been a lot of confusion around that. But we've seen several very strong photos where the player is right up on the camera, but the illusion is still there. So just because the avatar is supposed to be in an oversized world, that doesn't mean you have to be further away from the avatar to pull that off. You just need to be careful not to put regular size items in your foreground if you are going to be closer to the camera. So since you have very large items in your foreground, you could get a bit closer than this if you wanted to. You know, you could still push the camera forward. Now, the Oswald hat with the Alice dress, I don't think you need that. I think it would be more fun to just lose the hat and play with the hairstyle a bit. That way you can, you know, choose a fun hairstyle that goes with the dress. The dress is strong, but I don't think you need the Oswald hat. I don't think it looks the best with this dress. They don't go together very well aside from the color. Like, yeah, they have the same colors, but this top hat with this dress just feels a little out of place. And I think you'd be fine just to go without the hat. So I don't think you need to scrap this at all, Duchess. I think what would be good for you here, number one, get Alice to face the sun. Use the sunset lighting because that's looking good. Get Alice to face towards the sun. I would get a little closer to the avatar here, and I would rethink what you have here on the left-hand side, like the regular size tree. You know, you can place the mushroom just by itself, and then you can place something else behind the mushroom. Sunshone is up next. Very fun. Enjoyed this one. Not a ton of time this week, but hoping it's close. Thanks as always. All right. Well, I love how thick the environment is. You know, this feels like you're out in a garden or a yard and you're just shrunk down to this tiny size. I think you got a good outfit. The snail is fun. I would get the snail. I would turn the snail rock a little bit more in so we can see him a little bit better. It's a really fun thing to feature. I like the pose here. You look happy. You know, you look very at peace looking at the bee. And if you wanted to, since you're not right up on the camera, you could put a fun item down here where you have a little bit of space. Like another one of these gooseberries, for example. They have great color. You have this vibrant yellow, this vibrant orange. You could throw some gooseberries right down here. You don't have to have them come way into the scene. But you can just have like one little piece of one coming up right here. But, you know, we have these elements in the foreground on the left. We have the snail on the right. And then at the base, it's just these little flower petals. So I would consider another item of sorts down here at the base of your shot. But yeah, the environment is good. I love how thick this looks. You know, it's not just like a patch of grass with emptiness behind it. It's like a whole forest of grass and flowers, which makes you appear very small. And everything in the photo is, you know, larger than life, except for these flower petals. They're very normal size for flower petals at the base, which is why, you know, I think something else would be better. Because then everything that we're seeing will be larger than life. With how big these flowers are, you know, these little flower petals are, I I don't think the best foreground item to use. I would take the same inspiration that you have for your backdrop and carry that into the foreground, which you've done on the left and the right, but just not in the middle here. You can even take another one of these spool seats and put that up towards the foreground, or move this one up and put something else behind you. But that's really all I would rework with this Sunshine. I would kind of tweak the foreground just a little bit. Aside from that, I think the lighting is very good here. I love how lush this grassy forest is behind you. And the outfit is fun. So overall, I think this is a good snap. Sweet Lady Sue is up next. Oh, very pretty, very pretty. Good force perspective here. These are normal size flowers, but by putting them very close to the frame and by having the avatar a bit further back, it almost looks like she's in the flower. This is a great force perspective shot. Oh, this is Dana Suhu. Gotcha. Thank you for taking a look. As always, appreciate your input. This is my second review. Hopefully, is the correct place to post it. Yeah, you got it right. Sweet Lady Sue. Thank you. I like the motif here. The big bug motif. I don't think you need the grape soda tag, but maybe you're using it to cover some of the empty space here. But I think the force perspective of your avatar here, like nestled into the flower, is a very good play. This is another really great example of force perspective. The strawberry motif up here looks great. It looks very natural. It almost looks like it's hanging off of the plant here. So that looks really good. The only motif that's standing out and feels a bit out of place to me is this grape soda cap, because it's kind of like slapped on. Whereas the bug, it looks like he might be crawling up plants. But the grape soda cap, I feel like this would look a little better without it. You could even, maybe this mushroom you have on the left, you could put that where the grape soda is. And then you can, if you want to keep the bug from this side, I think that's fine. But that's probably the only thing I would change about this. I really love the way this snap looks. You have a lot of normal-sized items, but with the way you've layered everything, the illusion is strong. So, for example, this little flower topiary is normal size. These flowers are all normal size. But with you seated, with the flower coming up, so it looks like you're nestled into the flower, it's a very convincing illusion. So yeah, I love the way you've layered this. I love the way you've designed this. I think this will definitely get 4K. The only thing I would change about it, personally, like if it were my snap, I would probably get rid of the grape soda tag here. That would be it. And I know it's probably blocking something or filling in some space for you. But you can always, move some things around, maybe. I don't think you absolutely have to get rid of it, though. I think the wow factor of you sitting in the flower is going to be enough to carry this, even if you keep it exactly as it is. Very, very, very cool perspective. I love this. Well done. All right, with that, I think we're ready for re-reviews. Let me double-check, see if there's anybody else submitted for a first-time review. Oh, Thanos, it looks like. All right, so we got one more first time. Let's see, we got 1 and 2. Here's my snap. I didn't have enough time yesterday. Have a great day. And just say done. I still don't. And mine just says done. I still don't know what that means. Oh, Thanos. Yeah, I explained last week. You asked me the same thing about the tags. They've changed tags. There are no tag numbers anymore. As long as you have one of those tags, it's done. So done just means you can submit. That's all that means when the tags say done. Just like we explained to you last week. But I'll wait for you to ask me again next week. Let's see. We have the snail. Very fun. We got gooseberries on the side. You got some big wish blossoms. The fairy blossom is fun. Now, I would consider changing your foreground a little bit. You have a snail on the left and a snail on the right. I probably wouldn't double up like that. I would take this one that you have on the right and I would move him in a bit closer to you. I would move this snail in a bit so we can actually see him coming out of his shell. And instead of this snail, you could do blueberries. You could do the beehive that hangs down. There's that beehive item to let you know what I'm talking about here. It's this beehive right here. So this little guy, you can have that pretty close to you in the foreground, so it looks like a giant beehive to your left. But I would recommend diversifying your foreground a little bit. You know, you don't want to have just the same item on the left, same item on the right, especially when it's like an actual little character. So I would make use of the one on the right, because then you can actually have him kind of leaning into the photo. And you can bring this rock in. You know, we don't really need to see the path that much. And then on the left-hand side, since you're holding a bee, you could do one of those little beehive flowers, like right here with the beehive hanging down. The fairy blossom is a good backdrop. And, you know, the bee pose is cute and fun. Now, the cobblestone path here, I would recommend doing maybe a little bit more to make it not look so straight. The issue with these paths is they kind of make the environment feel less believable, because they have this like very straight line where the pebbles just cut off. There's no blending here. So what you can do is you can take things like these gooseberries and bring them in a little bit. Have them go over the path a little bit. Same with other of the larger-than-life plants. Now, it looks like your sun is back into the left, so we do have some good light hitting a lot of your scene. The other thing is, when it comes to the Pixie Acres region that you're in, again, if you're going to use this region, because you could have made this on a floating island. Like what you have here, you could have done all of this on a floating island, and you would have had better lighting. The only reason you would want to come to the Pixie Acres is to take advantage of what's in the Pixie Acres. That's the whole reason the Pixie Acres has been popular this week. And as far as what's in the Pixie Acres, it's right here. You know, it's these giant butterflies. But in your photo, you've completely buried them. You know, we can barely see the butterfly back here, so he's not really playing much of a role at all. So if you are going to use this region, I would try to show the butterfly. Otherwise, I think you would have gotten, you know, better lighting in a floating island. And then you wouldn't have like these big beams of light shooting up in the back. You could have placed all the things you've placed here on a floating island. And then you could have placed them right in front of the sun. You could add that good sunlight hitting the scene. So, again, you know, the whole reason the Pixie Acres is a popular destination is because of what it holds. The items within the Pixie Acres are the reason people are choosing to highlight Pixie Acres in the first place. So, if you are going to go with Pixie Acres, doing so in a way that can capture what makes Pixie Acres special, like these giant butterflies in the back, is going to be the optimal way to utilize that setting. And it looks like, you know, again, you've kind of buried this butterfly. They're not playing much of a role here at all. So the snails, the wish blossom flowers, the fairy blossom, you could have put all that on a floating island, and you could have had an even better snap on a floating island because you would have had better lighting, because you can choose where you set up the build. It looks like you chose to set up the build here for the butterflies, but then you buried them with items. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you're choosing a location based on some kind of feature, take advantage of that feature. Don't bury it. So yeah, final thoughts here. You know, if you can finagle things to where we can see the butterfly a bit better, that would be great. But that's going to require a lot of rework. So if you don't have the time, don't worry about it. I would focus more on the foreground. You know, I would move this snail in. I would swap this snail out with something else. And I would bring things into this path a bit more. All right. And we got re-reviews now. Moving on to re-reviews. Oh, that scared me. Thank you, thank you. Dang, let's go, let's go. Much appreciated, Sunshine. Much appreciated.
Happy Tuesday. Update day is tomorrow. Will Senpai be streaming the update?
Absolutely, I will. As always, as always. I will be live first thing in the morning. And this will be our first time broadcasting update day on both Twitch and YouTube. So, yeah, we'll be live in the morning, most likely a few minutes before the update goes live. So, yeah, you can expect me around like 8:45, 8:50, 8:55, somewhere around there. Just a few minutes before the update drops. I'm going to try to go live most likely around 8:45 or 8:40 so we can say hello to everybody on Twitch and then go live on YouTube, like right as the update releases. I would like to do that. If I get good sleep, you know, with my nerve issues, the one thing I struggle with the most is sleep. But, yeah, either way, I'll be live with the update in the morning. And thank you for the 1,000 bits, Sunshine. Very sweet of you. Very sweet of you. 35 on the board already. You guys are killing it today. Much appreciated. Cinnamon Apple Pie says, I finished everything for Quest and Pixie Acres and have no large butterflies, no matter how many days I've reset it. Thoughts? Or probably just... they're not... So, Cinnamon Apple Pie... The large butterflies aren't furniture items. So I think you might be a little confused about using the large butterflies. They're built into the map. That's why I'm saying that's why you have to come here to use them. They're right here. They just exist on your map. It's not a furniture item. It's not something you can place. If it was, you could just go to a floating island and use them. That's why I'm kind of explaining to people that if you're going to take your snap in the Pixie Acres, because of what the Pixie Acres features, you really want to try to take advantage of what's here. So, yeah, I think, you know, if you're looking for your large butterflies in, like, your furniture menu, yeah, you're not going to find them. They're not a placeable item. They're built into the map. They just live in the Pixie Acres. So, they're going to be right here for everybody. No matter what platform you're on, they just exist here. So I can show you where they are. No, they're there for everybody, Cinnamon Apple Pie. They're in the same place for everybody. So you want to go to the 100-acre fields here. And then you're going to face towards this little spot right here. So you see Sunday Shores? The butterflies all gather. They're right here on the map. If you look at the map, big blue one, big yellow one, big yellow one, big yellow one, big blue one. And we all have the same map. It's not, the butterflies aren't something you unlock. They're not something you have to earn, but I think you might be looking for them in the wrong place because everybody has them. They're not just going to not be there for one person. So at least now you know where to look though. You're going to come to the 100-acre fields and you're going to face this area of the map. And it shows them on the map. So these will always be here. These will always be here. There's, you know, this big gold one right here. There's this big blue one here. But yeah, they're here. It's not something you have to unlock at all. Do you still allow resubmissions during the stream if we do changes? Not until we're done, and if we have time remaining, yes. So for a guaranteed re-review, you just have to submit before the Monday stream. And then you're guaranteed a re-review as long as it's submitted before I go live on Tuesday. Now, if I finish with some time remaining, absolutely, I got you. I got you. So yeah, just look at your map, Cinnamon Apple Pie. You'll find the butterflies there. You know, because you said I finished everything for Quest and Pixie Acres and have no butterflies. You don't have to do any quests. They're not items you unlock. They're not things that show up on the map. They're always here. This picture of the map never changes. Like from when you buy Wish Blossom Ranch to when you finish Wish Blossom Ranch, nothing on this map ever changes. It's a still image. This is a still image, and it always will be. Nothing will ever change or evolve on this photo. That's how Dreamlight Valley does all their maps. And if you look at the photo, all the butterflies are right here. And there's one right here. But yeah, the butterflies don't show up at a certain point. They're just always there. Cinnamon Apple Pie, send me a screenshot on Discord of where you are. And also where you are in your map. Because I think you might be looking the wrong way or looking in the wrong place. Because I've never heard about somebody not having the butterflies on their map. Usually with bugs, multiple people have a bug. But I've never once heard about somebody not just the butterflies not existing for them. So I don't know. I'd have to see it to believe it. So I most of the time when there's something like that, it's user error. 9 times out of 10, somebody's just not looking in the right place. They're not where they need to be. So yeah, I would have to see it. I have to see it. So send me a screenshot of your map and of this area here. If you can show me that that's happening, I'll believe it. But yeah, I've never heard of that before, so all right. So re-reviews. I want to look at Keto's first, because Keto had one of my favorite snaps here. This one's so beautiful. Keto said, I know you said I'm all fine, but I clearly have issues, so I want to see a closer-up one, give an honest take on which one's better. So we have the same one from yesterday versus a closer one. Well, this one's really pretty, too. I think they're both very good, but the yesterday one for sure. I know a close-up of the avatar is good, especially if you have large items around them. And your avatar does look really good here, and the pathway behind you does look really good. This would likely still get 4K, but your shot from yesterday, Keto, this shot here, impeccable. It's just got such good layers. I love, like, the giant ladybug up here. Seeing the fairy blossom tree trunk makes this look like a giant tree beside you. There's just so many good elements in this photo. So I would stick with your original. But if you really want to, you could submit this one. I feel like this would still get 4K, but I feel like this will certainly rank higher. I feel like this is a very safe submission here. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, so this was Dreamers from yesterday. Or no, I think this was Dreamers from yesterday. So this was yesterday. In this one, you brought the house up closer. You're showing the butterflies. Well, you don't really need the blue swirl here, Dreamer. You know, what you need to be focused on for this week, Dreamer, is making it look like you're tiny in a big world. So, you know, things like these birds with the ribbons, they're normal size compared to you. You don't really want to use that. You know, Tinkerbell pushed up can be good, but if you get further away from the camera, you could push Tinkerbell up and do a forced perspective shot where Tinkerbell's close to the same size as you. But also, you know, it's, you changed a lot with the shot. You changed where you were, where you took the shot, time of day. This is a completely different snap that we have to review today. So all I mentioned yesterday was, you know, kind of filling out this space here, like bringing up the house, filling out this empty space we have here. You still featured the blue butterfly pretty good, but the bigger problem with your snap, Dreamer, you have no light hitting it. And, you know, we've talked about that with you a lot. And we've also discussed that a lot this week as we reviewed other snaps. So, you know, look at Keto's snap here. The sun is behind the camera, and it's lighting up this whole scene. Now, you can do a shot like this, like nighttime. Nighttime shots can be beautiful, you know, especially with this glowing gold dress you have here. But now you've changed the day to, it looks like sunset, but the sun is off to the left, and we're not getting any light from the sunset. So the sunset's not doing anything for you here. Not to mention, all on your right here, you have normal size flowers. So again, the idea this week is that you exist in a world where you're tiny. So you want to minimize how many regular size items are in here. Like even Tinkerbell is not the best choice unless you push her way closer to the camera so she looks way bigger than normal because you're tiny. You're the tiny one. The Fairy Blossom is a great house to use. And some of these background items are great, but your foreground, you know, you could, the snail is good and the blueberries are good, but like all these flowers here, there's so many better items you could be using. And also lighting is a big issue here. The outfit looks amazing in the dark. Like, this outfit looks great in the dark. But unfortunately, you know, nothing else in your scene is getting any color. And if you end up matched up against photos where they are getting all these beautiful, vibrant colors, that's going to be really hard. So again, as I mentioned a lot yesterday, like, I think at least for maybe 10, maybe 20 snaps, I can't remember. When it comes to getting 4K consistently, lighting is key. Good lighting is so important when it comes to getting good snap results. That doesn't mean you can't do a shot like this. But if you're going to do a shot that's darker, you have to play with the lighting. You have to, you know, play with things like silhouettes, things that put off light. Take advantage of it. Like, Tinkerbell is good because she glows. But also, again, you know, if you're going to use Tinkerbell, if you're tiny, then Tinkerbell shouldn't be her normal size. You'll want her even closer to the frame. And then you could be further back. We had a really good forced perspective shot of Tinkerbell yesterday where a character, an avatar, got further away from the camera and they did the float animation and then they pushed Tinkerbell all the way up to the front. So it looked like they were floating next to each other and they were close to the same size. That's the way you'd want to use Tinkerbell. Now, you can still get away with using her like this if you want. She's cute. If you're doing a fairy build, she still works. But there are better ways to use her, and that's what I'm trying to communicate. Carolyn. So this was your original shot. Thanks for the review. You didn't have remarks other than trying out the avatar closer. I gave it a shot, but I believe the smaller one is better. Let me know what you think. I like that you took the vignette off as well. So, the bee is better in the first one. And you had Minnie. So the first one's still better. The second one would be better if you were to move up some of the other items and have the same visuals that you had from this one. So this one would be the stronger of the two. It looks better without the vignette border. But the issue is you don't have as good of a shot of the bee. You don't have Minnie. And if you're going to move yourself up and cover items in the background, like the teapot, you're going to want to adjust for that. And you can adjust for that by moving the teapot up as well. So this one would be better if it was carried out a bit better. But as of right now, this one's still the superior snap because you have a better shot of the companions. And, you know, again, if you're going to move yourself up, you have to adjust for that with your background as well. And you didn't have to get this close to where you're clipping into the gooseberries. So as far as getting closer, you could have just come up a couple of steps and that would have been fine. Jen is next. I know what we talked about was the pathing here. I'm reading what you put in. So you said you didn't have time to do the Mothras. So instead you adjusted color to try to get some of this white out of the shot. Let's see. Okay, that looks a lot better. Also, Cheshire Cat is awesome here. So that's a great addition. And then we have this one. Yeah, this looks a lot better. We had a lot of lost color here at the base of your shot with the lanterns. Because, you know, the pinks here have turned very close to white. And then we already have the white squares around you. So we had a lot of color loss here at the base. And if you end up matched with a shot that has a lot of color diversity and a lot of vivid colors, the high levels of white at the base could definitely hurt on this one. I think the third is my favorite. Because this one we still have, you know, a lot of that white behind you because you still have a Vitalis Lantern tucked back here. But this one, the path looks the best. The colors are a good bit more bold. And Cheshire Cat looks really fun here as well. So overall, I would say between the three, this one is definitely my favorite. And I love that you added Cheshire Cat in. I do like Cheshire Cat's pose more in this one, though, where we can kind of see his eyes and how he's kind of looking down at you. The smile is fun, too, and I like Alice's bow. But, you know, I think the overall color balance is going to be much better in this one. Scylla, we had this one from yesterday. And this one from today. Okay, let's see. Said to go with the fairy one. Up the character lighting. Did that. Also managed to get a better view of the butterfly in the back. And change the hairstyle. Okay, so this was yesterday's. So we were talking about increasing the character lighting. So we have the character standing out a bit more. And, oh, nice. Yeah, we can see the butterfly really well today. Yeah, if you're going to go to Pixie Acres to use those butterflies, really good to showcase them well. And I think you did a great job with that on the new one. We can see the butterfly in all its glory. We can even see its little butterfly body. So that's fantastic. And I love the new hairstyle. And the boosted character lighting has made you like a lot more visible in the shot. Your outfit stands out more. The colors look very vibrant. I love the way you did the makeup on the changes here. Overall, solid improvement. You already had a pretty good snap still. I think this was already pretty solid. But the shot from today, I think, is definitely an improvement over what you had yesterday. I think it's definitely stronger. Of course, ultimately, how it does will depend on what you pop up against and what kind of voters you get. Scuttle, looks like you got a few for me here. The bees are being too cute. Was advised to move the tables and chairs by the carpeted area to reverse my hair colors and bump up saturation. I wasn't able to get the bees to repeat their 3B meeting. I did, however, get some closer shots of almost every bee. Well, that's good. Yeah, closer shots are great. And the increased saturation is definitely a step in the right direction. So this is yesterday, and this is today. Look at the difference here. I would have probably toggled on sunny weather. A lot of these clouds would have dissipated because you have a lot of gray back here, but it's okay. It still looks a lot better than yesterday's. The boosted saturation is very nice. And I do like that you swapped out, you know, as we suggested, taking the furniture and replacing that with the gooseberries down here. That adds so much more vivid color to the base of the shot. So yeah, really, really good change in direction here as far as your lighting and vibrancy. Yeah, the colors are very nice in the new shot. That's why these sliders are so important, guys. Now, it would be nice if we didn't have as many clouds because you have a lot of gray in the back corner. So if you toggled on sunny weather, we would have a lot more vibrant blue. But the giant butterflies look really good in your backdrop. The color is much bolder today. And just getting those gooseberries in the top or in the bottom left corner, I think, adds even more vibrancy to this. Now, as far as the best shot of these, so you have one with the pink bee here, one with the yellow bee, one with the blue bee. I kind of like the yellow bee the most, and I just like that he breaks up some of the green here, and the fact that we have the yellow butterfly, the yellow bee, and then the yellow on the gooseberries, and then the yellow rug under you. It's just a nice balance. That said, Scuttle, I think no matter which of these you go with, I think they're likely to get 4K. But yeah, my favorite would be this funny one with the squinting yellow bee. I like this one the most out of the three. If you wanted to do anything else with this, you could, you know, toggle on sunny weather so these clouds dissipate to get more rich blue in the back, but you really don't have to. Another nice thing about this one is the yellow butterfly has his wings kind of fully extended out of the top of the frame, and that looks really good. So yeah, the butterfly looks good here, the bee looks good here, the snail, and very good change on the colors. That was the biggest thing is, you know, for your snap yesterday, if you were to compare it to a snap that does have good lighting and saturation, it's not going to stand out as much in the voting phase compared to a snap like that. But now that it's been adjusted, it certainly will. So I think it's going to measure up well against some of these other 4K snaps. Well done, well done. Solid changes. Okay, we had Ginger Snap here. So the big thing we talked about with Ginger Snap yesterday, I'll have to minimize here so we can see it a bit better. But over here on this left-hand side, we had a nice open pocket that we could utilize. And you got some sunflowers back into that open pocket. So a small change, but it makes the photo feel more balanced. Because we have these beautiful sunflowers on the right, next to the snail. But on the left, we had the beehive and this pink flower, but not much behind that. And now that we have these sunflowers back here and here, I think that's great. One thing I would still consider changing. Yesterday, you captured your photo when the yellow butterfly's wings were more up and closed, which gives him a bigger role to play in your scene. Whereas your new shot, his wings are kind of down and open. I don't really think you need the Aurora, but if you want to have it in there, that's totally fine. It's still a fun item to use. And maybe you ended up going with the open wings, so his wings didn't clip into the terrarium here. But I did love the color on this and how well he was showcased yesterday. But yeah, it does have great balance. I like the addition of the sunflowers on the other side. I would still love to see with the wing, you know, taking up more space in the top here, because you have a lot of open space in the sky. And when those wings close, you know, it does go up a bit further. Hey, hey, thank you, thank you. Was that a gifted sub? Who did that? Guru. Much appreciated, Guru. Much appreciated. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. So Ashley is next. This was Ashley's shot from yesterday. I think the main thing we discussed for you, Ashley, was kind of the same thing we discussed for Scuttle. Getting a bit more color into the scene. So we went from this to this. Now for yours... yeah, we got a bit more color in here. Also, you styled the makeup differently, I see. Now you have some green eyeshadow. I like the green shorts you had yesterday, though, as opposed to, like, the grayish blue shorts you have today. The water does have a much clearer blue here. The greens didn't turn out as lush as I was hoping. Like when we look at Scuttles, you know, look at the difference in the greens. Especially when you have, like, that much green. Like, here, it's like a pale green on the snail. And then, boom, it's like this lush, vibrant green. On yours, you know, the green along the log here, it did turn more lush, but it's like a darker green around this one. Even the snail, we didn't get the same kind of color boost, but I think that also might be due to maybe the position of your sun and where the snail is. Like, we got more blue out of the water, but it also made a lot of your shot a bit darker. I like the addition of the blue water droplet up here. That's nice. Also, you have some clouds back here in your top left, right here. I would definitely toggle to sunny weather to get those clouds away, because some more deep blue sky back here in the top left-hand corner would be really nice. Because you have all this deep blue everywhere else. A little bit of pocket of deep blue up there would be good. The water does look a lot better today. The water yesterday looks very gray and almost colorless. So it's nice that we got a lot more color out of the water. I would swap back to the green shorts. I love the change in the makeup. I think that's very strong. And I would try to get the deep blue sky over here on the left as well instead of the clouds. So overall, solid. I don't think we're going to get the same bright, vibrant green that we got with Scuttles. Where is it? You could try, but it looks like you've already got saturation turned up a good bit. But yeah, overall, it is a solid change. I think the blue stands out a lot more. I think the avatar with the green eyeshadow stands out more. I think time of day is about the same, and positioning is about the same. But yeah, the increased saturation is definitely better. Lunaris. Let's see. Which one is the original? I'm trying to figure that out. So I think that is yesterday's. Or is it? Okay. I think this was yesterday's. And I think this is today's. Yeah, I see you've moved the snail in a bit closer. And instead of some of the regular sized items in the front, you moved the big mushrooms closer in so they look bigger. So yeah, still very beautiful snap. I think your shot from yesterday was already very strong. And you had two shots for me yesterday, and this was definitely the better of the two. I did kind of like the open space around you yesterday with the bit of lighting around you. It looks like today you chose to put the tall grass here. The open space was fun, but the tall grass is good too because it is very tall. Like the grass is coming up to your shoulders here. And I think that's good for the illusion you're going for. The snail being a bit closer is fun. But I did like that we had some purple light bleeding over him here. Because we see this purple hue on the left-hand side and across the photo, but it kind of stops here on the snail. I don't know if you can get another purple street light and place it slightly outside of the frame to the right so we can still have some of that purple light over him as well. But I did really like the purple light over him yesterday. I think it's good that he's closer because I think he plays a really, really good role in this photo. As it solidifies the fact that you're tiny in this big world. And I think you've sold the illusion really well with this shot. Even if you can't get the purple light casting on him, I think this is still very strong. But if you could get that same light kind of, hovering over him here, I would do that with this shot as well. Because I really like the way it balanced out the whole photo. Because now we still have the purple haze on the left and in the middle. But where he is, it kind of cuts off there. Either way, you know, whether you go with this one from yesterday or this one from today, I think they're both bound to get 4K. I think they're both very strong. Jesse. So we have this one. It doesn't look like you included the old snap, Jesse. So, in order for me to do a good re-review, I have to have both. So just keep that in mind. As far as these three options, I think they both sell the illusion well. Everything around you guys is larger than life. You have the big mushrooms.
Have a refreshment.
You have the big mushrooms. You have the big teapots. The big flowers. If you have the whimsical Alice dress, I think that would be better here. Like this one. It works really well alongside Alice because it kind of makes you a little bit distinct from each other. And it is an Alice in Wonderland themed dress, and it has whimsical in the name. It's a very whimsical look. But I think that would look good here. And I don't have yesterday's picture to compare it to, but I know in yesterday's picture you had a lot of normal size items like normal trees, normal hedges, normal houses. So I definitely think this is more in line with the illusion. Now you do have some open space up here in the sky, so I think having the Cheshire motif is a good call to fill out some of that sky a little bit. So the one with the motif, I would say, is probably the best option here. Black Knight is next. We got one. You do not have too many suggestions other than to try to fill the sky on the right and also bring some larger items forward versus the smaller flowers. I do get one pick with Alice, big, but her face is mostly blocked. I do love my little bee face. Do you think I should use one of these over the original? Okay, so this is the original. And then we have this one with the gooseberries brought in. Okay. And then we have this one. Ooh. I do like the big Alice. Even with her face blocked, like, we can still see she's huge in the background, which is really fun. So, out of the three shots, beautiful shot yesterday. You know, the only thing I recommended was, with the foreground here, I think having some kind of larger-than-life item in the foreground, rather than just the normal-size flowers, would sell this illusion even better. And I really like the addition of the gooseberries here. They add a lot of fun color to the shot as well. The bees look great in this shot, like the squinting blue and pink one, the pink and yellow, and the snails looking right at the camera. And even though we can't see Alice, the fact that you have the giant Alice in the shot, I think is really fun. So, we might not be able to see her face, but I think it's better to have her than not have her, even if we can't fully see, you know, her face, because she's still, like, so much bigger than normal, which is really fun. It shows the scale of this world is a little off. So yeah, I think this is going to do really well. I see on this one you have her kind of seated back here, but she's very easy to miss on this one. And in this one, she's very easy to catch because she's large. Even with her face covered, I would still go with this one. I think this is the strongest of the three. But also note, you know, if you don't want to go with this one, I think regardless of which one of these three you pick, they're all bound for 4K, so keep that in mind. You don't have to pick this one, but it is my personal favorite of the three. Lilo, this was yesterday's. Very fun, very fun. Lots of good color, very magical, and everything has a good larger-than-life feel. The main thing we talked about was trying to make the outfit a little bit more whimsical. That was the big thing. So, now we have this one here. Alright, I like the addition of the skirt. I think that's a good call. You know, with the regular short shorts and the, like, spaghetti strap top, the wings are whimsical, but the rest feels like, you know, kind of a regular outfit. But I think the addition of the leaf skirt here definitely adds a lot to the whimsical nature of the outfit, as well as the big crystal earrings. So good job on changing the wings there. I love that you added the bug back. I did love this bug on your mushroom tree. He looks very believable. As far as Tinkerbell, you know, you can have her in there. I don't think you really need her. She's very small in this photo, but she does look like a little magical ball of yellow over here. So if you want to utilize her in the shot, that's fine. But I think the best way to utilize Tinkerbell this week, especially with you floating as a fairy, if you push Tinkerbell, like, way up to the frame, like on the left-hand side here, like if you got her really close to the camera and you stayed there, she would look like she's almost the same size as you, and that would be a really amazing forced perspective for this shot. But, you know, that might be a lot of work, so don't feel like you have to do that. I think this is very solid. Silver tab. I know you said I didn't need to move Cheshire Cat's tree, but I figured I would try and see if it works better. I still have my original snap submitted. Okay. So that was yesterday's with the Alice in Wonderland vibes. And then we have today's. I do like this one a bit more. The big downside to the Cheshire Cat tree is that it's a very regular sized tree. And to make the illusion that you're small in this oversized world, you know, to really sell that illusion, minimizing the amount of normal-sized items you utilize, I think is the best way to really drive that home. So the fact that you kept Cheshire Cat in the snap, but replaced this tree with this giant mushroom, any of these big old wish blossom flowers in the back, I think this looks good. Alice looks great here. You look great here. Cheshire Cat, the giant mushrooms, very much on theme. The shot yesterday was good as well. So yeah, you didn't absolutely need to get rid of it. I think it still plays well with the Alice in Wonderland aesthetic. But opting for Cheshire Cat hanging out with you or being in the photo this way and replacing his tree with something that is much larger than it should be, I think is a good play here. See, I do like the new one more. Fim is next. Let's see. Not sure which is old or new, so let me double check here. We have two. I think this is the older one. Recommendations were larger items closer, beehive closer, wait for the, or beehive close up, wait for the bee to appear in frame larger, and use silhouette lighting. I wanted to move the giant cups and pots closer, but didn't want to lose some Alice details, as you mentioned. So I kept the distance for the most part, and focused on the bee appearing larger, added the hive, and closed the gaps in the sky around me. Also worked on the silhouette lighting in the back, along with a few small details I'm sure you'll notice. We'll definitely make time tonight to rework as needed. Appreciate the input. Okay, so this was yesterday's and today's. Yeah, love having the gooseberries play a bigger role here. It breaks up so much of this white and adds a lot more lush color to the scene. And the addition of all these flowers you've added to the top right here, that's like such a huge difference there. You know, it looks so much more lush on the side, makes the world feel even bigger. And the way you time the bee to where the bee is closer up and facing the camera, much cuter expression on the bee, and the bee looks larger, which is a bonus. So yeah, love the changes in this top right corner. I'm going back here. Having another large item, this flower, I think is fun. And the addition of the beehive here on the left. This big beehive behind Alice looks great. Yeah, overall, very solid changes. Very solid changes. I like that you added in the Garden of Whimsy flowers back here. Yeah, I think you already had a fairly strong snap here. But with the additions you have today, it feels more lush, it feels more full, and it feels even stronger with this Small Wonders illusion here. Like having these larger items a bit closer in is a good play if you're going to be closer to the camera, because it really drives home the fact that you're still smaller in this large world. So overall, well done on the changes, Fim. Well done on the changes. Good job, good job. Bella is next. Hi, Zema. You advised me to either make the most of Pixie Acres background or go to a floating island. I decided, ideally, to fix my lighting. In the first redo picture, I adjusted my position to capture the butterflies and some acorns. My second picture is on the floating island. Okay. So I think this was yesterday's. And then I think this one is one from today. And then this one is one from a floating island, I believe. Unfortunately, so the whole reason I was saying a floating island would be better is because you can utilize the sun exactly where you need it to be, which is directly behind the camera. But when you went to the floating island, the sun is not behind the camera, it's to the right. We can see the right side of the snail is lit up. So let me take a quick break here. And I'm going to go to a floating island, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. We're just going to go to the meadow. So when you build a Dreamsnap, you see the sun back here. I always put my wishing well on the side of the floating island where the sun sets. So if I build my Dreamsnap, the entire Dreamsnap gets lush, beautiful lighting. Like, you'll see everything in this photo is being lit up by the sun. So if we go to sunset, you know, everything is going to have very strong color, very strong saturation. The colors are going to be bold and vivid. So all this natural light is hitting the tree line, it's hitting the flowers, it's hitting the entire scene here. And the sun is located right here behind the camera. And that's how we have all this lighting. And you can look at the shadows to know you got it right. You know, we see the shadows going back into the shot. Now, when you went to the floating island, your shadows are all going left. They're not going back. So the sun is not in the right spot. And that's the whole reason you want to go to a floating island, because you can control where everything is. So you want the sun to be behind the camera and pointing at your scene. Now, in your case, you're actually building facing this way. So I want you to take note of how this house looks right here. It doesn't have a lot of good color because the sun is hitting the right side of it. Now, if we take that same house and we face it towards the sun, see the difference in color? So that's facing towards the sun. All the sunlight's hitting the house. And this is how it looks when it's facing away from the sun. The sun's only hitting, you know, look at the colors on the right side of the house. Now look at the colors on the front of the house. Completely different. These are far more muted. They're shadowed. They're in the shade, really. So that's what we were incurred. And this is why we do the re-reviews, because I want to make sure you're picking up what I'm trying to communicate with the advice. So you did a really pretty build here, but you didn't quite follow what I was trying to communicate, which is the reason you, and one thing I said a lot yesterday, like a lot, was when you're considering your Dreamsnap, when you're using the sunlight, before you place your first item, before you drop one piece of decor, before doing any kind of decorating, you want to figure out where your sun is going to be, and you want to figure out what time of day you're going to use, and then you start building. And you build it to where the sun hits your scene directly. I cannot stress how important this is. It has been one of the major reasons I've consistently got 4K, is because I always take advantage of the lighting. So this is the scene we were just looking at on my peaceful meadow. This one, another great result. You can see my shadows. They're going straight back. So the sun is behind the camera. That's why Mirabelle looks so good. That's why the monkey looks so good. That's why the avatar has such good light. The capybara, the guitar. Yo, Fim, thank you, my friend. Fim coming with the $10 dono here. Less than 500 bits away from the goal. Let's go,
I haven't
let's go.
picked up Moonstones in a hot minute, so I'd much rather give that support back to your content instead.
Oh,
thank you so
my
much.
friend. Thank you. Well, that is very, very sweet of you, especially with the update coming, because you might want to get Moonstones for the update. Unless what you're saying is you haven't needed to buy Moonstones because you've been doing really good on Dreamsnaps. And if that's the case, that's awesome. So we're at 45 on the board now. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to do a quick update on the goal. Much appreciated. Thank you for the direct donor there. Goal number 142 is almost complete. That's 142 goals in a row, you guys. That's massive. Thank you, thank you. Much appreciated, Fim. So this is why you want to... This is the main reason why you would want to use a floating island. So again, with this one, you see our shadows. They're going back into the shot. The light's not just hitting the right side of me or the left side of me. It's hitting me directly. That's why all these villagers look so good. That's why all these balloons have so much color. That's why Mickey's house has so much color. This right here is the color of the shade because it's the bottom of the tree. And this is the kind of color you get with the sunlight. So these are the same shade of green. This is the same green as this. But this is green without light, and this is green with light. That's how important the light is. It completely transforms the way things look in your photo. So I'm going to go to an empty island here. I'll just go forest. I don't know if it's empty right now. It might be. No, I got a little farm here, but this works. So essentially what I'm getting at, when you build your snap, before you drop the first item, the very top priority you want to have is getting your lighting figured out. So here we are at sunset. Let's say I want to use the sunset time of day, so I have this beautiful saturation. Well, I would likely build right about here. That way I have a lot of room on my left, a lot of room on my right, and the sun is going to be hitting my scene dead on here. We're going to be getting really good lighting on the avatar. Now, if I'm facing like you were, where the sun is off to the right, well, now look at the lighting on my avatar. And the lighting of this tree. It's totally different. But this is why floating islands are good, because they're so vast and open, you can figure out, and the sun always sets in the same place, so no matter how many times you come back to work on the snap, you're always going to get the same level of lighting. So here, you know, in this spot, let's say I want to build here. I'll drop an item. Like I'll just drop this piece of oregano to mark my spot. My shadow is going straight back. And now, whatever I add to the scene is going to get that good quality lighting. So if I were to add like a house, it's going to be very well lit. Versus looking like this.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
Keto!
Running so late, but just watched
Thank you,
your
my friend.
review
Thank you.
back. I will be keeping yesterday's version, I've decided.
Nice,
Thank
nice.
you for always putting up with my indecision and confidence lapses.
Oh, you're good. I know how it is. I know how it is. You know, it's all... Dream snaps are fun, and even if you're done, you know, you might still want to just like play around with it, mess around with it, work on it a little bit more, and then you're like, maybe this is better, or maybe it's not. So, second pair of eyes can be good. But thank you, Keto. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, I feel that, especially if it's a game or a challenge that you really enjoy. Yeah, the hyper focus is so real, dude. It is so real. When you're enjoying something, it can be really hard to put it down. Really hard. So what might have happened for you, Bella? I see your comment. What might have happened for you is you might have had the sun in the right place, but then you changed the time of day. That's why you want to figure out the time of day you use first. So we can see the shadows. I can zoom in here. And we can also see the light. So you see how we have a dark shade of light on the snail and then a bright shade of light on the snail? That means your sun is on the right, so it's not aiming directly at the scene. We can also follow your shadows here. And these are not being hit by light here. You've boosted your saturation well to reclaim a lot of color, which is good. But also there's no light hitting these petals. And again, also on the edge of the snail, we can see light hitting the right, but no light hitting the left. And if the sun is directly behind the camera, then everything in frame will be catching light. That is if the sun is right behind the camera. So maybe when you set up your snap, but the sun changes location whenever you change the time. And the time will also change as you make your build. So when you started making your build, the sun might have been behind the camera. But then as a few minutes pass or an hour passes, now the sun has moved. So that's why you want to choose your time of day. Stick with the same time of day so the sun is always in the same place. But that's the main reason you would want to build on a floating island, because then you can make the most of your sunlight. And you can get that good light throughout your entire scene. Just like with the bee here, you can see the sunlight hitting the right side of the bee, but it's not hitting his face or his, or the side here. So the sun is off to the right. And this is huge for snaps, you guys. It's huge. So, you want to find your shadow, and you want that to be going back into your shot. So this would be kind of an ideal angle. Now you could also do a shot kind of like this, where your shadow is still going back, but you're facing forward. That way you're aligned with the grid. This works too. Your shadow doesn't have to go straight back, but it does need to go back. You never want your shadow going to the left or going to the right, and you definitely don't want it coming towards you unless you're intentionally trying to capture a beautiful sunset scene. Now back to the options here. And this one we have the sun in the back. Little sunset back here. But the greens are much more vibrant in this one. So the colors are more fun. I think between the three, though, this one's going to be your best bet. It would be really strong if the sun were hitting the scene, though. This would be, like, I think a very, very, very solid snap. It's still solid, but it would be much stronger if you had that ideal lighting. So that's just something you can keep in mind for next time. The only thing I would recommend possibly changing is the flower wheelbarrow here. These are regular-sized flowers, and the idea is for you to feel small. All the other flowers in this snap, these giant sunflowers, these giant bellflowers, the giant flowers on top of the fairy blossom, those are the flowers in this world. They're giant flowers. Those are the flowers you want. You don't need these, so maybe instead of these regular-sized flowers in the wheelbarrow, you can just put gooseberries here. The gooseberries are very pretty. We've seen them in the foreground in several other photos, like we see them here. They're beautiful. They have lots of abundant yellow, this nice orange, especially when the light's hitting them. They can look really good. So for this photo, the only thing I would change, aside from the lighting, is I would consider a different item rather than the normal size flower wheelbarrow. So everything in the photo appears larger than life. Because the bee is much larger than a regular bee. The snail is great. The fairy blossom, all the flowers in the back, the tall grass, everything works except for the flower barrel's regular size. You can still keep it, and this could still do well. But I would try to swap it out with something just so everything is cohesive. Foreground is something... I mean, your foreground looks good. It's not that you did anything wrong with the foreground. The way you got the snail position is good, and where you put the flower wheelbarrow is good. So it's not that you did something bad with the foreground. It's more of the theme is why I wouldn't use the wheelbarrow. So if it wasn't for the wording of the theme, then I think it would be fine. But since the challenge wants us to only, to show ourselves in an oversized world, I find it safest to minimize the amount of normal-sized items. But, I mean, you know, this is a good-looking foreground, so I don't think you need to take any foreground classes. It's more or less trying to be as close to the theme as possible is where I'm trying to direct you on that. All right. M's is next. I had 3 options yesterday and decided to focus on the up-close avatar and improve it. I removed the small flowers and attached the front and love some big items in the front. First one is the original. Next 3 are the new options. Okay, so this was yesterday's. And then, oh yeah, I really like the giggling. That's cute. So this was yesterday. You had the normal size flowers in the front. Now you've gone with, I will say, rather than the blueberries at the very front, I think you should do the gooseberries. They have really fun color. The blueberries do look good with your dress, though. But you still have some space in front of the snail, too. You could put, like, you could have one little piece of a blueberry or a gooseberry just barely popping into the frame down here if you wanted to add more color. But yeah, I like the large items you've added here. I would say between these, I like this one the most. And I like that you have larger items. The only thing I would change from here would be most likely saturation to try to get a little bit more color out of the greens. One snap that did that really well would be Scuttles. Like this was yesterday's with the normal coloration, and this is with the increased saturation. You can see these greens are a lot more lush, a lot more vivid. It's very eye-catching. So, in yours, the sun is pretty low on the horizon, though. So even if you boost that, even if you boost that saturation, you're probably not going to get too much color out of it. And part of the reason why is because your sun is to your left. It's not really behind the camera. We can tell because the left side of your face is very lit up and the right side of your face has no light. We can also look at the snail and we can tell the same thing here. So if I zoom in on the snail, we got light all around the left side of his eye stalk here. You can see how well lit the left side is. But on the right side, it's all shadow. So one thing that would make this a lot better is if you had the sun behind the camera. Again, something I discuss very often. So the only way to fix that, unfortunately, is by choosing a different time of day, and that doesn't always work. There's not always a good one. It's something you need to do before you even build your snap. When it comes to having the best lighting possible, you need to address that before you place your first item. You choose the time of day you're going to use and stick with it, because changing the time of day is going to move the sun in some cases. It stays where it is for about 2 hours at a time for sunset, and then in the last of those 2 hours, it starts to set. So, and if you look at, you know, a lot of the people in this community that get 4K, like over and over and over and over, they always do this. They always have that optimal lighting where the sun is behind the camera and everything gets that beautiful coloration. It's the same thing for this one. You know, look at the shadows of the frogs. They're going back into the scene. You can see the shadows of the snippets going back. That's why everything in this shot has so much life, so much color. It's because the sun is behind the camera. It's not to the left of the avatar. It's not to the right of the avatar. It's not in the background. It's the sun is a spotlight that you want to point at your photo. You got to think of it that way. You know, regardless of environments, even in these snowy environments, that sunlight makes such a big difference. So like in this, you know, the whole avatar's face is lit up. All of Tinkerbell is well lit. And you can see all these lush blues on the trees because the light is not coming from just one side of the tree. It's coming from right in front. It's lined up with the camera. And again, when it comes to getting 4K, not much is more important than lighting. Lighting is such a big deal in how your Dreamsnap turns out. It is a massive, massive deal. Good lighting and being on theme can often, those two things often can lead to 4K just as they are. And you'll see most of my daytime photos that are outside, they always follow that rule. It's very rare that I break away from it unless I have a really good reason to break away from it. Like I'm trying to capture something special like a sunset, or I'm using a biome where the sun will not line up with the camera. And then you have to use your settings to adjust for that. But in pretty much all of my photos, you're going to see those shadows going back into the scene. All of these, pretty much all of these daytime dream snaps. You can see the shadows of the rocks going back into the scene. So I think out of these shots, I like the little giggling ones the most. I think these are really cute. I would consider maybe swapping the gooseberries and the blueberries, or putting something here in front of the snail rock as well. Or you could take the snail rock, put him on the right, so he's kind of leaning in here with you, and then you could put the gooseberries on the left. I think that could be fun. Or blueberries. But for your future snaps, you know, try to make sure the sun is behind the camera if possible. It's going to be very helpful. It's going to give you, it's always going to give you a better scene overall. Now, I'm not saying you can't capture a beautiful sunset if you really want to use that, but you got to be really good with your camera settings to make that work. So, again, if we look at the shadows of your shot here, we can see the shadow of this rock going to the right, when the shadow of the rock needs to be going to the back of the shot. We see two different colors on this snail shell. This color is how it looks when he's hit by light. This color is how it looks when he's not. The whole shell could be this color, the whole thing. And look at how vivid that is compared to this. So this is what you're sacrificing when you don't get the sun behind the camera. You don't get this color. You get this color. Luckily, you got a little bit of light hitting the scene. You know, you got the sun off to the left, so you're getting a little bit of that color, which is good. But what I think you should try to work on, Ems, for future snaps is really prioritize making sure that sun is where you need it to be before getting really far into your build. But yeah, I like this pose the most out of what you have here. I like that you brought some more large items in. Just keep in mind for future snaps, before you place that first item, really figure out that time of day and sun position. Horizontal is next. We got one. We got two. We got three. Thank you for the advice. I tried to make the adjustments, but flowers wouldn't fill the screen in the back. So I put a Mickey cloud there instead. I brought the snail closer. So hopefully that's a bit better. What do you think? Two different options for you. Okay. So let's see. I think... Which one? I think this is yesterday. Is that right? Yeah, that's yesterday's, where he's a little further. Well, the increased saturation looks really good. That's a huge boost. You already had a really pretty snap. There's a lot of fun, vivid colors, but getting that saturation dialed in and getting more of those fun flower colors back there, I think is awesome. Like, that's a huge difference. So I love the increased saturation, like the extra color. The Mickey cloud is a fun touch. It's a very minor detail, but at least you have something kind of filling in that spot, so that's good. And FYI, you could get flowers there. You would just need to get rid of the big piece here and place several small pieces. But I think this is good enough. I think you can call it with this one. And between the two, I like the one where you're just a tiny bit closer. I think this is the best of the options here. So when it comes to getting those extra flowers back there, let's go into landscaping real quick. Looks like we'll have to go into trees. Like you had these kind of pieces in your snap, like these big pieces. So if you're trying to add more flowers, instead of having one of these big pieces, you would basically get rid of it and then add a combination of smaller pieces that could fit together to get more flowers close together in your backdrop. So this versus this. So you did have the room to add those flowers, but instead you chose to keep this big piece that has less flowers but takes up more space. I think this is still fine. It looks pretty. I think it would look better if you had more flowers filling your sky, though. I think that would give this a best case scenario because you have really good lighting. The sun is, look at that. You got the sun perfectly lined up. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Look at the lighting on this. Look at the way this snap looks compared to, what we've been seeing with a lot of the other snaps. This one, too, has really good lighting. But we've seen a lot where, well, we do have several back here where the lighting is really good. But the last couple, where we didn't have the light directly hitting the scene, it's so hard for a snap where the sun is not hitting the scene to beat a snap where the sun is. So this has really good lighting, which is another reason why having more of those big flowers up here, I think would definitely have this doing even better, just because it would make this world feel even larger because we can't see over the flowers. It's like such a, you're in some of my favorite scenes I've seen of this challenge are where the avatar, even close up, they feel so small because we can't see the horizon. The plants all stretch well above the frame, and I think that's a really good way to sell this challenge. So yeah, when it comes to getting more flowers, that's why sometimes it's going to be best not to use these. Instead, take creative control. Instead of using something that forces you to use 2 pieces of grass and a bundle of flowers with some rocks, get rid of that and opt in for your own creativity. But yeah, I think you're good with what you have. I think this definitely is more than worthy of 4K, and I think it very likely will get 4K. Just in the future, if I recommend adding more to the sky and you want to do that, you want to get more detail up there, then, take the creative control and get rid of the items that force you to use, 1 or 2 things in a big area. Go with the component pieces rather than the set of pieces. Crafty Joe is next. Okay, you got. Well, I might have to make a rule on these because this is you're giving me a lot of different snaps to look at. I might have to say maybe 2 per submission, because this is like 3 reviews for 1 person, and we do have a lot of other people waiting, so I might have to adjust that this week, because this is a lot of different submissions. And also in the rules, I do discuss this when it comes to submitting for a dream snap. It needs to be a complete snap, like you're ready to submit it. So if you have 3 completely different concepts, then you're not really ready to choose. And I need you to choose because it's going to make my review process a lot easier, at least on my end. Because let's say everybody started doing this. Everybody started sending me 3 completely different snaps to review. And I'm already reviewing 60. So now instead of reviewing 60 snaps, I'm reviewing 180. Does that make sense? So in the future, I know you'll have a lot of ideas, Crafty Joe, for your themes. You'll probably have a lot of different ideas, but I really need you to narrow it down and pick one that we can work on together. Because otherwise, you know, if I don't put a rule in place, this is already starting to kind of become a trend where people are uploading like a bunch of different snaps. And, you know, realistically, we need to keep it to a single concept. Now, between what you have this week, let's see, that's... So this was the Alice one from yesterday. This is the one from today. I like that you broke up a lot of the gray. You got the skyline filled out a bit more. And you do have a lot of large items here, but regular size tree here might not be the best. Now, this one is kind of fun, but you have like the regular size bushes, regular size butterfly flower. This does take away from the illusion a little bit. The outfit's really pretty, but I did like seeing this big stalk in yesterday's. And with you close up, being right on top of normal size items, like you're right on top of this, which is a normal size item. You're right on top of this, which is a normal size. You're so much bigger than this butterfly flower. This looks like your normal size in a lot of ways. Whereas with yesterday's, you know, if you want to get closer, you need to have really big items next to you. So that way it still gives the illusion. So I would say yesterday's is stronger on this one. And lastly, we have these two, which the new one appears a little smaller. Let's get that bigger. There we go. Yeah, this is way stronger. I think out of all your photos, this one has improved the most. So with the Alice in Wonderland one, it still doesn't have the best saturation. In this one, the sun is off to the right, but you are getting good sunlight hitting most of the scene. Your shadow's going back really well here, so you got the angle right. But what hurts this one, I think, is the regular trees. You have a lot of large items around you, but then items in the background kind of take away from the fact that you're in this oversized world. Because if this was an oversized tree, it would look more like the Fairy Blossom, like a giant tree trunk, right? So that hurts the illusion a little bit. So let's not go with this one. Now, this one is fun, but again, you have a lot of normal size items here. Like we have a normal size flower tree over here. We have the normal size butterfly flowers. The bee is big, your wings are big, and, you know, we can see the giant sunflowers, which helps, but in this one, you kind of cover the sunflowers, and you're closer to the big items, or the small items. So you don't really feel like you've been shrunk down in this one. So we'll get rid of that one. This one feels the best out of all of them. The main issue with this one is your sun was off to the left, and we don't have the best color on this one. There's no light hitting these sunflowers here. Now, on your new variant, unfortunately, you still don't have the sun hitting the scene directly, but you've increased your saturation enough to where you're getting good, vibrant colors. We can see the shadow from this shell is going directly to the right. Now, if the shadow from the shell was going back, then we would have great light hitting this scene. But you've definitely helped this look a lot better by dialing up the saturation. And that's what you have to do when you don't have good lighting. When the light is not hitting your scene dead on, you have to take that extra effort and really tweak the settings to get the colors to look right. And you've done that here. So I think, you know, this is just what we should have gone with originally, rather than you having like 3, different ideas. We could have focused more on this yesterday. We could have given a little bit more direction on this, but since we had to cover 3 photos, we weren't able to do as much with this as I would like. So I think I'll change that this week. I'm going to add that to the rules. I'm going to have to put a limit on, we already have had people, some friends in the community, that have asked me to review multiple snaps, like for their family and friends. They're like, hey, can I send you my snap, and can I send you my daughter's snap? And we've already had to say no to that. So I don't think it's fair to tell them no, but then have other people send me, like, 3 snaps. Now, if you want to send me 3 different versions of the same snap to help you pick from them, that's great. But 3 completely different concepts is a bit much for one person when we have 60 other people waiting for reviews. So let's just keep that in mind. And also, I feel like I can do a better job for you. If you dial it down to one idea and we focus on that one idea together, I can give you much better advice, and we can work more on that singular concept. Whereas if you give me 3 different ideas, I'm only going to be able to do a little bit for each one. And I feel like I can do better for you if we focus on one thing. So I'll put that in the rules tab this week. But yeah, this is definitely a good improvement. You really got the lighting looking a lot better, and you move things around to showcase the butterflies a bit better here. I would love to see the yellow butterfly even more. So here's what I think you should do on this one. The settings are great. Keep this level of saturation, but let's move this bellflower. Let's move this left. If we cover this blue butterfly a little bit more, so be it. We want to see the big gold butterfly. So if we move this bellflower and we move this clover, if we move them both to the left, we're going to be able to see this guy perfectly. Aside from that, yesterday your avatar seemed a lot happier. We had a nice grin on her face. Today, she doesn't look like she's enjoying herself. So once you move those items, keep this saturation, keep this level of color, but let's get a happier pose. You can use the bees, anything that makes you smile. Let's try to make the avatar more relatable. And let's scoot some of these items over so we can get a better look at this beautiful butterfly you featured in the back. But yeah, overall, solid improvement from yesterday. I think you've done a good job with adjusting this photo. I really like the addition of the snail on the right-hand side. And you really nailed the enhanced color. So I think final adjustments here, if we moved some items over so we could see the yellow butterfly better, and if we chose a pose that was a bit more expressive, I think you'd have a great shot at 4K with what you have here. All right. LOTR. So this was yesterday's, the very fun picnic basket Dreamsnap. I really like this. I think this was a very clever idea, very simple idea, but very strong. Good wow factor. I think the only thing I mentioned with this one was that the roach eating the pastry kind of freaked me out a little bit. So it looks like you're replaced him with a cupcake. I think that's fun. I like the pomegranate too, because you did have a lot of cupcakes now. Because you got like 1, 2, 3. So I think swapping out that other cupcake for a little pomegranate is cute. I think it sells the idea. It's a lot of motifs, but it's a really clever way to do a picnic basket. Having the watermelon down here, you holding the strawberry is very fun. And yeah, overall, a super clever idea. And a good way to showcase the avatar up close while still having them feel very small. I really like this one. I really love forced perspective shots that really sell that illusion. So overall, LOTR, very strong, very fun Dreamsnap, very well done. Lee, I have tried taking your advice on board and went and redid the Dreamsnap at a location. I used a huge cliff blocking the light. I would appreciate your advice in the changes I made. Thank you again. Okay. So I think you were saying in yesterday's you got a huge cliff blocking the light where you were. Gotcha. Yeah, that's the tricky thing. That's what's so difficult about using some of the DLC areas. You got to be very careful with where you do your build, because if you don't have light hitting it, it's so hard to stand up against snaps like this. most of the people that get 4K consistently, they're going to be making snaps like this, where they make full use of their lighting. And if you pop up against them and your lighting is being blocked by a cliff or the time of day, you're just not going to stand out as much to the voters. And that puts you at a major disadvantage for, some of the snaps you'll be matched up against. So it looks like you move to a new location where you're going to have better lighting. So there's this one here, which is your daytime shot. Wow, good job on the butterfly there. That is awesome. You really made it look like it's right on top of that mushroom. This is a really good perspective. Very strong. And then you have a variant here at sunset. Now, honestly, between the two, I think the daytime here is going to be better. Most of the time I go with sunset. But the problem with sunset for this biome in particular is that the grass on the ground and the giant grass blades, the big ones, they turn into a really dark shade of green, whereas this vibrant shade of green you have on your outfit, this bright, nice springtime green, I think stands out more. So I think this is going to look a lot better. Not to mention, in this shot, you've gotten a lot closer with the gooseberries in the corner. Whereas with this one, they're a bit further away, and we see this like harsh, dark green grass kind of jutting up in front of them, which doesn't look as good. So in this one, the position of the gooseberries is much better. We have less space between the snail and the bottom of the frame. And again, the perspective you have on the butterfly is very strong. And the snail looks really good too. So this is a absolutely massive improvement from yesterday. Like, this was already pretty, but the light limitations were really hurting it. And it looks like not only did you take my advice on the light, but you also heard me out on what I was telling other people, which is if you're going to use this biome, if you're going to make use of the Pixie Acres, you want to make it worth it. You want to make sure you get the full use out of this biome. And the best way to do that is to really showcase this butterfly well. Otherwise, you should just go to a floating island. That way you can get the good lighting you want. You can build the exact scene you want. But if you're going to choose Pixie Acres, making the most of the environment is a fantastic path to take. And this looks so good. You really knocked it out of the park on this. So overall, very well done. Amazing. I like the trifecta here. Snail, butterfly, you. Like all of you guys tucked in together here in this spot. I think it's lovely. The giant beehive on the left, the gooseberries adding more color to the bottom left here. Just really good job. Really happy to see that you pivoted from where you were, because I think that's going to be just a very, very helpful thing. The limited light where you were was definitely impacting the beauty of the shot, and I just love the way you made it look like he's on the mushroom. Like, this is so cool. This is so cool. Very, very good job, Lee. Congrats. Good job. Janet, our new friend here. So this was yesterday's. There were a lot of conflicting ideas in this one, so we recommended working towards cohesion and striving towards a build where everything blends together well. So now we have this one. Yeah, this is much stronger, Janet, much stronger. Everything feels very well balanced here. It looks like you have a couple of other options for me. There's this one, and there's this one. So I would avoid the high-tech goggles. So those goggles, those are going to be really good for like space and sci-fi. And I know you're using them for like bug eyes, but they're not giving bug eyes. They're giving like sci-fi. And it's like fantasy and sci-fi elements. Like, I get the idea behind them, but never underestimate the power of showing the avatar's makeup. Like, in Dreamsnaps, it's a great opportunity to show your skills with how you do the eyeshadow, how you do the lip, how you style the avatar, and showing expression is huge among voters. It works really good when they see the avatar smiling or being happy and they can see it in their eyes. It often elevates the Dreamsnap several degrees. So I would, I see what you're going for with, like, the bug eye idea, but I don't think you need that. I think this would be stronger without the goggles. So I wouldn't do the sci-fi goggles. Now, between your shots, the sun is to the right of this shot, so we have a lot of shade coming in. You want the sun kind of directly hitting you, but you did boost your character lighting, so you're very well lit, and that's important. In this one, we don't have the boosted character lighting, so you're not standing out quite as much as you were in the first. And in this one, it looks like the sun is back and to the right. You have a nice little Mickey cloud here. I would love to see you boost the character lighting like you did here in these ones. Because whenever you don't have sunlight hitting your avatar, look at how good it looks when you boost the character lighting. It makes a huge difference. So let's do the same thing for these. I think between your shots, this one might be my favorite because you have the nice Mickey cloud, you have the big beehive in the front, you have these giant flowers, you have these gooseberries. And I like the idea of the crown, but I would definitely reconsider the goggles, and I would also boost your character lighting on this one the same way you did on this one. Now, the Winnie the Pooh tree is like a fun touch with the honey pots, and the tree does look big. The only downside here is the honey pots are regular size, and the tree is large, but not large enough to, like, really feel like it's larger than life. It's a big tree in the game, but it's still somewhat normal tree size. But if you want to keep it, I say go for it. Embrace the Winnie the Pooh vibes you're going for, the bee vibes you're going for. But why not use a bee? Do you have any pet houses? The companion homes, you can attach pets to those homes, and then you can have the bees fly into your shot. So if you want to have some of the bees flying around, you can place the companion home outside of the frame where we can't see it, and then you can attach 4 bees to it, and then they'll just fly through your image. So, sometimes they go the wrong way, but that could be fun. Could be a fun way to get, or you can, since you're actually using a glider pose, you're using the flying pose, you could attach the bees to you, and then when you pause your character mid-pose, it will also pause the bees. So you can sit here and pose and wait for the bees to be in just the right spot, like flying, closer to the camera, and then you can pause it so you have the bees flying around. But yeah, I would go with this one out of your options. I would definitely boost character lighting, get that nice bright light you had in the other shot. I would swap out the goggles. I would equip bees so you can really sell this queen bee vibe you're going for. And yeah, I think you'll have a fairly solid snap here. I think it's definitely going to do much better than what we had yesterday. I think it's a massive improvement. And yeah, you did great with the character lighting here. Just be careful not to let random villagers wander into your other one. Like, Mulan doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing here. And there's a villager toggle in your camera to where you can actually make them go away. So if you hit your left trigger while you're in the camera mode, you can just turn them off. So, just like yesterday, where we had things that were conflicting, like we have a fall ground, but we have like vibrant green grass, and then we have a snowy circle. We have all these conflicting ideas. Well, that's kind of the same with villagers. You have this honey and kind of Winnie the Pooh environment here, like giant environment. Tigger makes sense, but Mulan is just there and completely random. So you can turn her off. You don't have to have her. You can just go into your toggles and cut her off. So the same thing that we discussed with like choosing everything, making sure everything's cohesive in your build, that applies to villagers as well. You only want villagers to be there if they feel like they're part of the environment. So I think this one's your best. I think this is the best angle. I love the giant beehive here, all the big flowers. You got a nice shot of the sky here, the nice gooseberries at the base. But we don't have light hitting your avatar, so we're going to want to increase our character lighting. And if you do want to add a villager, you can add Tigger to this. But I would keep the other villagers out of it. And then if you equip bees, you can do this same pose. And when you pause your pose, it will also pause the bees that are attached to you. So if you let the bees fly around, they're so cute. Voters love them. You can have the bee flying around and just pause him when he's close to the camera like this so people can appreciate their little bee smile. And that would be a great way to play up this queen bee idea that you're going for here. Bob's is next. So fun fact, I had submitted 3 picks yesterday, and the one you chose actually didn't save. Oh no! So I had to redo it, but I think it works out. I put Tink a bit further back, but still kept all the things you liked about the original, and I got a bonus Mickey Cloud. I think I'm overthinking it, but it feels off, and I can't decide if I'm overthinking or if something's missing. If they're identical and I'm just tripping, please let me know and move on to the next snap. Okay, all right, well, let's take a look. We'll find out. First off, very good lighting, Bobs. Very good lighting. I see your shadow going straight back here. Really good color on the bee. So this was yesterday with Tink. And then this is today with the Mickey Cloud. So I don't think it's that anything's missing. I think in the new shot, you just have more space up here. The Mickey Cloud is fun, but yesterday you had, well, let me minimize so we can see better. You see the sprig here with the water? It's so nice how close this comes to the top of the frame, and it minimized how much room we had up here at the top. In today's, we have more space, and we do have the addition of the Mickey Cloud, which is fun, but I kind of liked how minimal the sky was yesterday. And I think you can use Tinkerbell. I don't think people are going to deduct on that. I just think the most ideal way I've seen people using Tinkerbell are those forced perspective shots where they push Tinkerbell really close to the frame and they go further back so it looks like they're close to the same size. I think that's a really good way to use Tinkerbell, but you don't have to use her that way. If you feel like your shot is more empty in this one, you might just be missing Tinkerbell's glow, because she was a good filler item here. She did add some nice magic to the shot. So if you want to go back to this one, I think you can, especially if you didn't have that other one saved. This is still a good option. I think it has great lighting, which is a huge, you know, impactor in performance. It's got a really nice foreground with the little pine cone, the glowing bottle here, the glowing bottle here, the gooseberries, Tink's nice little glow. So yeah, I think I like the framing on the first more. I like the fact that we have a little bit less sky. And I love how flat this leaf is with the top of the frame. And I do think Tinkerbell is a good filler here on the right-hand side. So I can definitely see why you feel like something's missing. You know, I don't think they're identical. I think they would likely rank close to the same, if I'm being honest. But I do think this one would likely rank a little bit better. Just because Tinkerbell is a bit more noticeable. And the picture feels a bit fuller. Even without the Mickey Cloud, it feels a bit fuller to me. I mean, the Mickey Cloud is fun. But yeah, I think I like this one more. Actually, I know I do. But again, if you like the other one more, you can definitely go with this one. I truly believe these will rank very, very close to one another. Let's see. We got Precious. I think this was yesterday's. One and two. All right. go back to the first tier. Did this much quicker this morning after grinding all day yesterday with Timon and Pumbaa for the dress. I moved some things around and took out the cards with the rock path. I planned to add Alice on the bench, but wanted to see if this looked better than yesterday's. Thank you. All placements are very intricate with their grids. You had a lot of tips for me. I do not have the DLCs, but I grinded Timon and Pumbaa to get the outfit. Nice, nice. I then got Alice on the bench. I know it's still really busy, but I feel like this can do well. Here's to hoping. Well, busy is not bad. So we've talked about this a lot. So this is your most recent one. We've talked about this a lot on my stream. So people often confuse busy and detailed. So if a snap has a lot of details, that's not a negative thing. When a snap is seen negatively because of how much it has going on, it usually has more to do with the fact that many items don't work together. That's when a snap feels too busy. It feels like things have been placed just for the sake of taking up space. That's what you want to avoid. That's where that busyness comes from. That's where people start seeing a snap and they say, it's too busy. The reason they're saying that is because it's full for the sake of being full. But they'll see a rank 1 Dream Snap that has more detail than yours, more items than yours, and they won't say that about the snap. But why? You know, if we look at rewarding and we look at snaps like this, where we have all these details, there's so much going on, yet nobody's saying it's too busy. In fact, it's the top rank of all the public submissions. So why? Why isn't this one too busy? Well, because everything being used is cohesive. Everything in play is chosen because it all works together. So I try to drive that point home because I think there's a lot of misconception when it comes to people saying snaps are busy. Or they're like, that snap's too busy. I think what they're trying to say is that it feels like it's full for the sake of being full. Because clearly voters do not mind snaps with a lot of items. They really don't mind if a snap has a bunch going on. In fact, the ones we see in the top 3 pretty much every week always have a lot going on. They're always very full and very lush. I mean, look at how much is going on in this snap. We have items from top to bottom. The entire snap is full. It's jam-packed with details. Yet, it's in the top of all Dream Snaps. So clearly voters do not mind a snap being jam-filled with items. Because in a snap like this, all the items make perfect sense together. Everything feels natural. So busy is not bad. It's when you get to the point to where you have a lot of items and many of them are too repetitive. It's the same items over and over. Things that don't make sense are in the build. Items that don't belong together are together. It looks like somebody went into their furniture mode and just dropped things just to fill space. You know, that's when you get that negative kind of busy. So I wouldn't worry about too busy unless you're kind of in that domain, in that zone. So with your snap here, I do think the outfit is more whimsical, and I do like the added colors. Now, I do wish we had something other than the trees. The issue here is the trees are normal size trees. These are, you know, the goal with this Dream Snap is to convince the voters that you're in an oversized world. And you do have a lot of those elements. You have the oversized teapots, the oversized mushroom, the popsicle sticks, the cupcake, the dice. You know, you have a lot of things that feel much bigger than they should be. But in the foreground, you have tiny green bushes that are normal size. And then in the background, you have jungle trees that are very normal in size. And if you come against a Dream Snap where everything is bigger than normal, you know... Oh, sorry, hang on a second. There we go. if you come up against a Dreamsnap where everything is bigger than normal, larger than life, it's going to be hard to win the vote against a Dreamsnap like that when several of the elements in your snap are kind of that normal size. Give this a second. There we go. Now, I know you're limited on items as a newer player. You don't have all the DLCs, so it's going to be tricky for you. It's going to be tricky. The other thing is I like the new colors. Yesterday, you were at sunset, and today you've gone midday so you can get the sun to line up with your shot. But midday lighting versus sunset lighting is very different. You see how the saturation is more rich on here than it is here? So when you go midday, you really want to boost saturation. So for these shots, I would definitely increase your saturation to get more color into your scene. And to get more color in your sky, you can toggle on sunny weather instead of, having the clouds. Now, it would be nice if there was something you can use other than the normal-sized trees and the normal-sized plants. That's the main thing we would want to fix from here. But as a new player, you might be very limited on what you have access to, especially if you don't have Wish Blossom, because a lot of the best tall items for the background are Wish Blossom items. That in mind, even with just the teacups and the Alice in Wonderland stuff, this was done indoors, right? This was an indoor build by one of our community members where they made a picnic basket setting inside, and they use motifs, so you don't absolutely have to do outdoors if you don't have the best items for it. You could come up with clever ways to make yourself seem very large in some kind of an indoor setting like we see here. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I feel like it's more cohesive. I feel like it's going to have better color balance. But yesterday you had more saturation due to the time of day. And I do like the idea of Alice on the bench here. But the main thing I think you need now is boosted saturation. I think you got to get more color in here. The midday lighting is, you have the sun in the perfect spot. We don't want to change the time of day because with where you have the sun, everything is being hit with light, and that's perfect. Unfortunately, midday lighting has less vivid colors than sunset. So it'll be on you to go into your settings and boost that saturation. Typically for me, for midday shots like this or daytime shots, I will often take my saturation up to like 0.3 or 0.4 to get really good saturation involved. The other thing here is I would avoid small, normal size items like these Eternity Isle blades of grass. Or not blades of grass, but Eternity Isle bushes. You could take some of these other items you have, like the cupcakes or the dice block, and you can put those up towards the front so that we can have some large items towards the front of the shot. Or if you're going to use stuff from landscaping, like these plants, you could consider some of the Eternity Isle let's see if we have them. Like this thing could be fun. I don't know. Yeah, if you had Storybook Veil, you'd have better options. Like these flowers are from Storybook Veil. These would be good. And this is also Storybook Veil. This would be good, but I don't think you have Storybook Veil. And I know you don't have Wish Blossom, or which is too bad. But I don't think it's going to be a good idea to use normal size items in the foreground because the idea is you're tiny in this larger than life world. So if your foreground is made up of tiny green bushes and your background is made up of regular sized jungle trees, the midground is great. Like the teapots, Alice, the teddy bear, the cupcake, the popsicle sticks, these items are good. And I know you don't have the good background items because you don't have Wish Blossom. If you, or Eternity Owl. Like, if you had Eternity Owl, you could do more giant mushrooms. Or, sorry, if you had Storybook Veil. You have Eternity Owl. If you had Storybook Veil, you could do more giant mushrooms in the back. There's other fun items you can do as your backdrop. So yeah, it's tough when you have less items than other players, especially for a challenge like this, where some of the best item to use are from Wish Blossom Ranch. It's tough to make your scene just as convincing as the ones that use those items. So it's hard for me to say what you should do about the trees. I think you can just keep them and hope for the best. You know, it's not going to be, of course, it's not going to be as good as scenes like this, where people actually have these items. But it's better than nothing. It's better than keeping your sky completely open. There are some other fun Alice items, though. Like, I don't know if you have the castle tower. There's like a castle tower from Alice in Wonderland that you could put towards your backdrop. It's just tough when you're very limited on items. So just do your best. Try your best. I think you're going in the right direction with this. I think you're going to have better color. Just make sure you boost your saturation. Get some nice, rich, vivid color in here. Showcase your avatar well. And see if there's anything you can replace these normal-sized plants with that would match with the oversized theme. You can even move some of these items up. Like I said, you could move the teacups up closer. You can move the cupcakes up closer. You could move the dice up closer. Whatever you want to move towards the front that's not these little plants, I think would be good. Just something that's larger than life. Yeah, it's just going to be tricky, Precious. It's going to be tricky. If I knew exactly what you had unlocked... Oh, you do have that mushroom. You do have that swirly mushroom I was talking about. Yeah, I see it back here. Maybe that one was Eternity Isle. Yeah, I think this actually was Eternity Isle. So, I mean, this feels like a really big mushroom, so this could be good in your foreground. And also, when it comes to the Alice in Wonderland stuff, one of the best things to use paired with the Alice in Wonderland stuff is the mushroom stuff. Those have been very popular together in several challenges, like the mushroom challenges. A lot of people did Alice in Wonderland. But I don't know if you have these, but these could be amazing in your background even. And you could block a lot of your sky by putting these in your midground if you have them. Again, I'm not exactly sure what you have in your game, so that's the tricky thing. But you have a mushroom house. And mushrooms and Alice in Wonderland go really well together. So, I mean, if you do have these mushrooms, you could do the mushrooms paired with the mushroom house. Some of these fun mushrooms in the foreground. And you probably also have these mushrooms. I'm just trying to give you ideas on things you can use to get rid of the items that are regular size. Like, even this is huge for a mushroom. Like, there are no mushrooms in real life that are this big. Well, at least not this type of mushroom that are this big. So, these could be really fun to use in your foreground. And if they're placed close to the camera, they look even bigger. Like, if it's way back here, it looks like a reasonable size. If it's right here, you know, it looks huge. So maybe instead of the green plants, we could do mushrooms here. And since you have a mushroom house, we could do mushrooms behind some of these items as well. The tough thing is, like, the jungle outfits. It goes well with the jungle trees. But really, for everyone that's doing these nature builds where they're highlighting some of the jungle outfits, they're tending to utilize more of these Pixie Acre builds. That's where you see all these jungle outfits and all these grassy outfits. It's in these scenes, in these builds, where people have the nature items to pull that off. That's where we see a lot of these fairy-inspired and nature-inspired kind of environments. For most of the Alice in Wonderland themed, you know, for people using Alice and using the teapots and the teacups, a lot of them are using things like this. Or the Alice costume outfit. But you got to do the best you can with what you have. So, I think still, it's looking better than yesterday. You got rid of a lot of that basic white that we had. And you've definitely added more large items. This one you have a mushroom towards the front. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's good. And you can do that purple mushroom up towards the front as well. Honestly, I think if you did something like this, something like what you have here, with Alice on the bench, with the boosted saturation, and swapped out these little green plants for, I mean, maybe keep like one so you still have enough green to really make the dress make sense. But maybe take the little purple mushroom back here, put one over here on the right, move this brown mushroom to the left, because you don't want to do the purple mushroom in front of the pink cup. They're going to blend together too much. Take one of those purple mushrooms, put it in front of the pink cup, take the brown mushroom, put it in front of, or sorry, take the purple mushroom, put it in front of the blue cup. Take the brown mushroom, put it in front of the pink cup. Again, ideally, we would want to have anything else than regular sized trees, but the only good tall items that are really going to work with how you set up the scene would be the Wish Blossom items, and you don't have them. So you got to do the best with what you have. The main thing I'm going to recommend for you is to boost saturation. You have great lighting here, and that cannot be underestimated, how impactful that is. When you have good lighting hitting your scene directly, you're going to have a built-in advantage over everyone that doesn't have that. And as you've seen, as we've done a lot of these reviews, a lot of people don't have that. Some of them are good enough with the camera to make up for that by boosting saturation and fixing things. But a lot of people are still learning when it comes to that. So I think the most important thing for you is to make sure you increase your levels of saturation here. Like I said, for sunset, I usually go like 0.3, and for midday, I usually go 0.4. But it would be nice to get some more fun, vivid colors in here because you do have such good lighting, and we can bring the most out of these colors. Don't worry too much about the trees. You know, you really just don't have what you need to swap them out. So just roll with them and hope for the best. Let's see here. Let's see if we had any other... Let me double check chat here. Was there... Was there anybody that did not get a review yet today? Let me know, let me know. JMR. Yeah, and I think Vanessa was asking too. It's 6:53, so we are coming up on final time, but I can, if Vanessa's still here, I could do a re-review for Vanessa as well. You know, for Samantha, yeah, for the Alice in Wonderland Realm video, I don't think I covered where to get the cupcake. I think I focused entirely on the teacups for that one. Alice loves kimchi, said literally sent mine. No, I got you. We got a little bit of time. So we have JMR re-review and Alice's re-review. Yeah, because I don't think Nessa's still here. Let me see if I can find JMR first. There we go. I see Alice as well. So we got this one. Why does it have to be raining? And this one, I think Let's see, which one was yesterday's? Here's my update. I couldn't move things forward because of the pawn, so I moved back a bit and shifted some things around. Do you think this makes me look a bit smaller? Before you thought my background was too far away. Okay, well, I can decide which one is the one. Yeah, so this was yesterday's. And yeah, the gooseberries are here. You're close up to the camera. And yeah, you have some of your foreground elements pushed back a little bit. Now, in your new one, yeah, I like the gooseberries here. I do like that you moved up. It's made the snail bigger. You have good color, good saturation here. Got the beehive flower. A good pose with the bee. And if you still wanted to use Tigger, you could. You could put him just a little further back, like back here, if you wanted. But you don't need him exactly for this one. I do think this pulls the illusion better that you're small. You feel a bit smaller in the shot. You're not as close as you were. And having these large items right next to you, I think delivers on the fact that you're in this oversized world. So yeah, I think this is a step in the right direction. Also, it's nice that you're closer to some of these really good elements like the beehive, the shell. Being closer to those has made those bigger. You know, the idea of this theme is that you are in an oversized world. And the best way to drive that home is by having some of these oversized items near and close to your avatar so that that concept, that illusion really comes through in your scene. See, I would say that this is a positive change, JMR. So, Alice, this was the one we reviewed earlier today. And, ooh, very nice. Yeah, beautiful lighting here. Very good. This is really cool. So this was earlier. I think we just reviewed this one today, actually. Yeah, this is one of the first ones we reviewed. You had the large boots. We talked about potentially, you know, removing one of those, and we talked about lighting, but it looks like you decided to go with the floating island idea instead. So Alice said, hi, thanks for the feedback today. Not sure if you'll have time enough to see it, but I took your notes on lighting and using different items. I moved to a floating island and chucked the giant butterfly. Pretty happy with this one. Yeah, I definitely think this is a much stronger snap. This is really pretty. I love the way you position this wish blossom plant on the right-hand side, or sorry, left-hand side. I get my right and my left confused all the time. But this little golden glowing vine growing into your shot is so pretty. And the way you have the sun positioned, beaming light directly into the shot, really nice colors. Like everything really pops here. And you're still using a lot of larger than life items. You know, you have the gooseberries right at the front. We have this like little spool or yarn, whatever that is, but it's very big. You know, the buttons are huge. They're like, you know, bigger than the whole size of your hand. You still kept the boot in here, but you've added, you know, a lot of diverse items to the scene. You have the fairy blossom in the back, these big bellflowers hanging down. And you've really minimized, you know, you have, I see trees in the back of the floating island, but they're barely visible. So you've really minimized us being able to see anything that's not larger than it should be. So yeah, this is a much stronger snap. I think you did a great job with the revision of this. So yeah, very good, very good. I mean, your original snap was cool. I think it was pretty. I do like the big butterfly. But knowing how a lot of voters tend to look at snaps, they are typically very drawn to lush, vivid scenes. I mean, we can just look at the top 3 from this week, you know, to see just how true that is. Look at all the snaps in the top 3. Look at how colorful these are. Look at how the sun is positioned. Like in this snap, you know, the sun is hitting everything dead on. And it's the same in this one. The sun is directly hitting this. We can see the shadows of the avatar going back. We can see the light hitting Rapunzel here. And then the same with this one. the shadows are going back into the scene. The sun is hitting the front of this perfectly. So all 3 of the top submissions, well, all 3 of the top public submissions are using the sun as a spotlight. That's why I just keep repeating it. You know, I keep trying to drive that home because it is so important. These players, they all really understand how Dreamsnaps, you know, voters operate. And, you know, when you use lighting this way, it just looks so good. It just looks really good. So yeah, your new snap is beautiful. Your original snap was really pretty too. I especially love like the cattails and some of the tall reeds at the front. You know, you did feel really small, but this one has more diversity in the environment. It's got more lush colors. It's got more magic, and it is going to stand out a lot better in the voting phase. So very good job here, Alice. Very good job. I think you did fantastic with this. Well done. Well done. Yeah, using the DLC areas can be such a headache sometimes. I mean, it can work really well. Just getting the lighting right is a pain in some of those areas. All right, chat. Oh, Sunshine, thanks for helping Breezy with the, yeah, thanks for helping Breezy with the where to find the cupcake. Yeah, the cupcake's a good item. Anybody else that has not had a review yet, or re-review that's interested? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because we're coming up on the end. Nessa posted theirs. Oh, nice. Okay, Nessa's still here. Let's go. We can get Nessa too. All right. Let's find Nessa. There you are. So this was the original we reviewed today. And this one, yeah, we talked about getting the avatar turnaround just for the expressive nature, for the relatability. It tends to do well in Dreamsnaps to get that relatability out of the avatar. People really like that. So let's see the new one. Oh, very nice. Yeah, I like this a lot more. What do you think, Nessa? Do you like this more? I like that we can see more of the giant pencil, and I think this is a really, really fun thing to hold. I've seen a few people using this, and I think it's a very clever accessory this week. You got a killer job on the makeup here. The deep blue eyes with the green eyeshadow and the gold frames that kind of match the gold of the pencil. And this subtle smile on your face with the rainbow kind of going right over you. This feels very magical. I think this is a very positive change. I think it makes the Dreamsnap feel a lot more relatable. It's not that your first one was bad, you know? Like, it's a cool backpack to showcase. It's a cool headpiece to showcase. But like I was saying when we did the initial review, if you are going to face away from the camera, it's best to do that with some kind of storytelling. You know, some kind, like, you want to have a really good reason to be facing away. Like we did with that hiking snap that got ranked 2. We faced away from the camera so we could wave at Donald. So if you set something like that up, if you set up an element of storytelling when you face away, then it can work really well, as it did here. But I see a lot of snaps that face away underperforming if there's not some kind of storytelling element accompanying it. And I think it's due to lack of relatability when we can't see their expression of their eyes. And you did a really good job styling the avatar here. We still get the benefit of the cool backpack. The leaf hat looks even better. And the giant pencil really stands out here, because in the first one, we can only see like the eraser tip in the top of the pencil here. But here, we really get a lot of value out of it. So, yeah, I think this is very solid. And even though the sun is to your back, like I said earlier, you did a good job boosting the saturation. So, this is what I mean, guys, when I say, if the sun is not hitting your scene, like, you know, look at how colorful this is. Even though the sun is hitting the back of her avatar, even though the sun isn't hitting the snail, she's boosted her saturation here to where we still have all these rich, vibrant colors, even though the sunlight is not directly hitting a lot of this. So if you end up in the situation where you're not going to get that ideal sunlight, just don't forget about your settings. Don't forget that you can make the most of things like highlight, saturation. You can still pull some great colors into your shot that way. But you're going to want those great colors one way or another, whether it's by using the sun or using the sliders, because as we've seen, you know, these photos in the top are going to have these elements, as well as most people in 4K. Most people in 4K are going to have these vibrant, rich atmospheres. And as you climb the ranks, you know, you're going to eventually start popping up against other photos that are in the run for 4K. And for you to get 4K instead of them, you have to beat them. So, you know, the best way to be able to contend with photos like this is to try to match this level of vibrancy and beauty as best you can. We got update day tomorrow. Who's excited? We're going to be live early. Dang, my reel has 1,000 likes on Facebook. Well, that's cool. I just got a notification. Yeah, I usually don't get that many likes on Facebook. It's mostly YouTube and TikTok where I get all my likes. All right, let me pull chat back up. There we go. The guy said, did you see the update today on the new StarPath Vault? The red chest you get if you already own the Vault item is supposed to give you a new item that you don't already own. I read that in the patch notes yesterday, but it was different. So the red chest is actually the Vault item. So here's what I read in the patch notes. Let me pull them up before we head out. Yeah, I'll have to look at the video too. But they often word things like totally differently in the patch notes for whatever reason. Oh, these are new notes. Here we go. StarPath Vault with the Whispers of the Wind update. You'll know StarPath menu. What is the StarPath Vault? The Vault is dedicated rewards page. But yeah, we already knew we were getting different versions. Let me find the old patch notes as well. So, we knew about the new versions. Here, it said, StarPath Vault rewards. These brand new rewards path will exist on top of current ones. Rewards found in the Vault will be made up of previous StarPath rewards you might have missed. If you already own a specific reward in the Vault, it will be marked as such. In its place, you will receive a random red chest. Random. A random red chest. Premium StarPath players will have access to additional Vault rewards that are reimagined versions of previous rewards. So, if you have the Premium StarPath, we already knew that. If you have the Premium StarPath, instead of, you know, you'll get special rewards. You'll get different skins. So we already knew that. It was the red chest thing here. If you already have a specific reward in the Vault, it will be marked as such, and in its place, you'll receive a random red chest. I don't think they should do this. I don't think they should do the red chest at all. It's just to get more people to buy the Premium StarPath. That's what we were talking about. I don't like red chest. I think they're stupid. But as I mentioned yesterday when we read the patch notes, I really like the idea of reimagined versions. It's just going to be the same item in different colors. That's what it's going to be. Which is really easy for the devs to do. That's what they should have done a long time ago. Most games, like if I play Pokopia, I can literally take most items in the game and paint them whatever color I want. In this game, you're really limited on... There's more items in this game, though. There's so many different items you can decorate with, but I would love more colors. But yeah, we already knew about the extra colors. Or the reimagined versions, because that was in the patch notes we looked at yesterday. StarPath Vault is dedicated to rewards page that appears during each update. It allows players to unlock returning rewards from previous StarPaths, earn newly recolored or refreshed versions of beloved designs, progress naturally by completing routine duties, which serve two purposes now, earning tokens and unlocking Vault items. One of the most common requests we've received over the years has been additional ways to obtain StarPath rewards. Yep. Returning items, their original form, recolored, reimagined versions. Vault rewards unlock linearly, meaning you'll move step by step through the track. Complete 3 routine duties. Duties count towards both your active StarPath and the vault. Rewards must be unlocked in order. A progress bar will show how close you are to the next reward. Once all required duties are finished, you'll be ready to collect, just like the regular StarPath. So I don't think the random red chest is a random item. If you have the premium version, I don't think you might still get the red chest, but the red chests are random. The upgraded items are not. But yeah, we can even see this cool new garden stone path. That looks awesome. And there's like a spring version of the winter arch. Let's look at it. Premium vault rewards. These remain locked unless you activate premium. You still progress past tiers containing premium rewards. What if I already own the rewards? If there's a vault reward that you already own, you won't receive a duplicate. Instead, you'll receive a red chest. Before opening it, you'll see a message letting you know that you already collected the original reward and that something extra awaits outside. Red chest rewards are tailored based on the type of item being replaced. Furniture rewards exclude clothing. So yeah, the red chests are random. The red chests are not the recolored versions. The red chests are, just like I said in the patch notes, they're random furniture and random decor. If you didn't pick up the premium StarPath, this is what you get. Rewards are always designed to provide meaningful value. So if you already own a StarPath reward, the red chest will give you a new item you don't yet own, ensuring longtime players continue to benefit. Now that, we talked about that yesterday, that's actually good. So this might be a way to get your stone fences and stuff. That's cool. Hi, buddy. We get the StarPath Vault, gives you more ways to collect, decorate, and progress. We can't wait to see how these returning rewards in your valley, as always. Well, even if the red chests give you something random, it's actually a chance to get something random you don't have yet. That's actually cool. $391,000 moonstones on this dev account. That's crazy. Well, I have all the clothing rewards in the game, so... But I'm still missing some of my stone vines. Very cool, very cool. Speaking of which, I think I need to do my... Oh crap, I think I forgot to do them. Well, shoot. I forgot to do my routine duties last week and now they're gone. I didn't get my extra moonstones because of that. Crap. Well, I've been too busy with Pokopia. Well, I'll at least get this accordion thing. I have 10, so I would have to buy... That sucks, I gotta buy them, just because I didn't do the routine duties. But I forgot. Yeah, and they're gone now. I just don't want to miss out on an item. I just spend 900 moonstones on that thing. Eh, screw it. I'll probably end up getting the moonstone bundle tomorrow anyway. There we go. Now I got everything. And I don't even get to get any of these back. Because I forgot. I lost moonstones. Well, that sucks. Yeah, I was too busy playing Pokopia. I forgot to do my routine duties. I thought I still had time. I just let it go. 391,000 moonstones, definitely a dev. Yeah, that's a dev for sure. Yeah, we usually complete the StarPath day 1. You know, kind of slept on my routine duties this time around, though, unfortunately. At least I didn't forget to get the accordion, though. I almost forgot. I had to buy it, though. That kind of sucks. But that's alright. I've been passing on a lot of stuff in the premium shop lately, so... Alright. Well, I think we're all good. Yeah, the reimagined StarPath items are awesome. I'm glad we're finally getting some new... You know, the new garden stones look great. And I'm glad they're choosing the items they are. Because, like, if you look at the items they're bringing back, it's items we use a lot in Dreamsnaps. Like the garden stones, these are very popular. This arch, the winter version of this, is very popular. The marigolds are very popular. These flowers here are very popular. So I really like that they're bringing back popular items, but giving these different styles. And the new garden stones look amazing. These look really good. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, they're finally adding some new Scrooge stuff too. Looks like they've been listening to a lot of the player feedback and a lot of the player frustration, so I'm glad we're getting some of the changes that are coming our way. It's awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and end the stream on YouTube and then we'll end on Twitch. My friends on YouTube, thanks for watching, you guys. Much appreciated, much appreciated. And let's see. Yeah, I see LB fan said we're getting new stuff from Scrooge with the update, so red chest will be a great way to get those faster. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm glad they made the red chest guarantee new stuff, because that's one thing I was kind of complaining about when they mentioned red chest being part of those vault items. Red chest usually are just like whatever to me. Like I never get anything new from them. So the fact that the ones from the vault are guaranteed to give you something new, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. That's awesome. All right, well, if you watched on YouTube, thank you for being here today, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed the Dreamsnap reviews. I'll be live at 9 a.m., around 9 a.m. on YouTube and Twitch for update day. So if you want to enjoy the update with us, we will be here. And, of course, we'll discuss, you know, I'm going to probably speedrun the new StarPath. I always do that on update day. I try to run through it as quick as I can, unlock some of the new items, check them out, play through some of the new character, at least unlock the new character, get them leveled up. But, yeah, we'll do a lot tomorrow. We got a lot to do. So I'll catch you guys on tomorrow's stream if you're going to be available in the morning. As always, thank you for being here. If you're watching this after the live, drop a like, drop a comment, say hello, and I'll catch you on the next one. Consider subscribing if you are not subscribed yet, and we'll see you tomorrow for update day.